When the world is ruined, yet again, cities burning down right from the very start. Our main character bumps into a wild boss. Luckily, she is pretty cute. She is carrying a whip. Still, our main character knows he is totally doomed. He really thinks this is the end of his story. Time for the credits. They actually roll, and that easily could have been it. Honestly though, this was not the exact moment things started going wrong. Meet Zia, a 21-year-old college student. Out of nowhere, a system notification screen pops up right in front of him. See, a game called Will of the Earth merged with the real world. Terrifying monsters and characters from different factions arrived all at once, putting the world in serious danger. Luckily, every human became a player. A massive war began. Everyone started as beginners with powers to fight monsters. Classic main character bad luck, right? Everyone gets powers except our poor guy Zia. This normal student was suddenly facing a massive life-changing moment. But because of a weird error during his character creation, the whole system crashed. Zia looked around in absolute shock. Before long, our main character realized he could not even equip any weapons. No experience, no level ups. Zia was completely stuck. He could not even view his status screen, which absolutely terrified him. Zia screamed that a regular guy stands zero chance of surviving in this nightmare. Despair sets in. Zia suddenly realized he might actually die a virgin. Talk about a nightmare scenario. Luckily, Zia is a natural optimist, so realizing crying would not help, he decided to look for a safe hiding spot. To survive, luckily, his inventory still worked perfectly. He still had a couple of weak beginner potions. Zia knew he had to reach a safe zone, meaning he would need to find other players to team up with. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon lit up the sky. Directly above him, making a deafening, bizarre noise. Zia looked up. Stared up in absolute shock. What could this strange noise mean? A massive, blazing meteor slammed right into the middle of the city. A massive explosion follows, instantly shaking the entire area. Watching from a safe distance, Zia muttered, "It has arrived, the actual apocalypse." Crouched behind a rock, Zia watched a terrifying creature emerge from the smoke. Did this monster just drop from the heavens? Could it be the wild boss? The boss is actually a gorgeous demoness who immediately realizes this is the spot. This is where her dreamed-of lord was supposed to make his grand entrance. She is Belar, S-class demon, leader of the heavenly kings. Peeking out, Zia froze. Why was an S-class monster here? Belar looks around the ruined street, but she does not spot anyone nearby. The demoness grumbles that although her sense of direction is terrible, she is absolutely positive she found the right spot. In her hands, she holds a drawing of the Lord from her dreams, an image she sketched entirely by herself. Nearby players panic as they realize a dangerous demon has suddenly spawned. Annoyed by these weaklings blocking her view, Belar activates her absolute territory skill. A sudden explosion sends the crowd flying away. Shards fly in all directions. Her devastating skill brings instant death to any living creature 10 levels below her within its range. Belial smiles, muttering that this is much better. The sacred ground where her master descends needs to be bathed in blood. Zia Yi panics, knowing he needs to escape immediately, but a slight rustle catches Belial's attention. Someone is hiding behind that rock. She wonders out loud if someone actually survived her attack. Zia Yi knows he is dead meat. Then a massive explosion erupts, engulfing the area in flames. Zia Yi panics again. Belial is furious. Who would dare launch an unauthorized attack on her? The demon looks back through the smoke, spotting a lone figure stepping forward. She spits out his name. In sheer anger, Roland. Emerging from the haze, the man sighs, remarking that Belial is still as hot-headed as ever. Outraged, the demon demands to know what right he has to speak to her like that. After all, he just blindsided her with an explosion. Roland tells her to drop the attitude. As the high priest, he carries the heavy burden of being the absolute hope of humanity. Belial demands to know why he is Standing here, the priest calmly answers that his mission is to eliminate the newborn demon lord. Roland explains that an ancient prophecy guided him here, though he was not completely certain at first, but looking at the scorched earth, he knows this is the spot. Belial flies into a violent rage, screaming that she will not let him touch her. Beloved master, blinded by fury, the demon unleashes her whip, lashing out at the priest. Their eyes lock in a tense standoff during the chaotic clash, right in the middle of the brawl. The hand-painted portrait of her master slips from her fingers. Cowering behind the rock, Ziyi trembles as his terror reaches a new level. The poor guy has no idea how he got dragged into this insane mess. Belial is taking heavy damage now, her health bar draining fast under the priest's onslaught. Yet she defiantly snarls that a mere human like Roland can never defeat her. She screams that she cannot wait to be reunited with her glorious lord. Suddenly, the demons attack power spikes by an incredible 20%. Cracking her whip, she challenges her opponent, declaring she is ready for round 2. Roland realizes Belial has completely lost her mind. A single strike from that whip could kill him instantly. Reaching into his pocket, the priest retrieves a scrap of paper. This is a dirty tactic, but he has to use it. Belial catches a glimpse of the drawing and freezes instantly. The demon cannot believe her eyes. It is him. The paper in his hand is the very drawing that fell from her pocket during their frantic struggle. Seizing this perfect opening, Roland moves in. He delivers a devastating, full-force blow right to the demon's jaw. Belial is sent flying through the air, crashing down mere inches from Ziyi. The poor guy is absolutely paralyzed with fear. Struggling to her feet, Belial looks down. Her master's ruined portrait lies on the dirt nearby. She lets out a heartbroken shriek. The picture is torn and her beloved master's face is completely ruined. Furious, she accuses the priest of playing dirty, taking cheap advantage of her pure adoration. She vows that she will never forgive him for committing such an unforgivable act. Roland dared to defile the sacred face of her precious demon lord. Right then, her eyes drift over to the trembling young man behind the rock. Ziyi's face turns completely white with sheer terror. But Belial suddenly grins, saying she has been waiting for this exact moment. At last, the Demon King arrived, but Roland just kept up his fierce attack. He lunged forward, blade swinging. Belar had zero time to react. Her body was sliced clean in two. Instantly, blood sprayed in all directions. The priest smiled. She was finished. He walked forward calmly. He approached the body. Meanwhile, Shia tried to blend into the stone. He wanted to disappear. Roland simply praised Belar's immense strength. She was a true demon king. Meanwhile, Shia stood there, completely drenched. Blood covered him. He was lost. His health bar was dangerously low. Wait, the priest's own red bar was almost completely gone. Shia watched. He realized the truth. Belar had nearly killed the holy man. The priest smiled. It was too late. There was no turning back. The traps were set. The incoming demon king would walk right into them. He would be wiped out. In his base form, it would be easy. He was sure of victory, but wait, look who just appeared behind him. A young man stood there. The priest froze in sheer, utter shock. How did he get there, and why was he standing so silently? No sound. Roland quickly activated his special perception skill. It failed. The opponent's level was simply too high to measure. Nothing but system errors, status unknown. His class was listed as Destroyer. Roland panicked. Could this monster actually be at a 4-digit level? It was impossible. Even at his peak, he stood no chance. He knew it. This new demon was on a completely different level. He had a plan. He wanted Roland to fight his minions first. Wear him down first, then deliver the final, decapitating blow. A cruel devil, a terrifyingly cunning and deeply sadistic mastermind. No escape. Shia stood frozen, fully believing his time was up. He stood up. The quiet boy locked his gaze directly onto Roland. Pure terror. Roland imagined the absolute worst from that cold stare. The king was furious. filthy humans had dared touch his subordinates. Roland sweat coldly. He was absolutely convinced his end had come. He braced for death, then something completely unexpected happened. A potion, the legendary Demon King, quietly handed him a vial. "Your health is low," Shia offered him his only healing potion. Roland blinked in shock. Did this demon even understand his own nature? Meanwhile, the cosmic convergence between their worlds had already reached 30%. Earth was ready, its people were awakening as active players. Clashing with monsters, the city streets burned under the constant chaos. The plan remains unchanged. An assistant suggested they stick to it. "We are non-player characters. Guiding these players is our sole duty." "How is Roland doing?" The aide reported some highly promising news. "The target is dead. The elite monster predicting the Demon King was slain. Kill the newborn king. That would guarantee them a swift, total victory." "Leave it to Roland," the assistant confidently added. He was the perfect man. No worries, with Roland leading, they had absolutely nothing to fear. The boss agreed. He praised the priest's brilliant mind and flawless execution. He was worthy of being called humanity's hope. Right then, Roland prepared to die. The injured priest stood right before the Demon King of the Maximum. Level Shia felt surprised. Did this man really not want to drink the potion? Roland glared at the strange liquid with deep suspicion. The priest thought the Demon King wanted revenge. Honestly, he was expecting the absolute worst. Holding deadly poison, Roland knew the Demon King could easily crush him, yet he preferred using poison. He probably refused to let him die quickly. He wanted the poor priest to writhe in agony before taking his life. Truly a sadistic Demon King, Shia urged the young man to drink up. Roland knew that if he refused, death was certain. Playing dumb might be his only shot at survival. Roland focused his energy to boost his poison resistance. He spiked his health, magic reserves, and maxed out his stats. With a loud shout, the priest downed the glowing restorative potion. Suddenly, the impossible happened as his health bar shot up. Roland gasped in pure relief. It was just a regular healing potion. Shia really only had basic items in his inventory. The priest realized the Demon King had completely terrified him. His heart pounded wildly. But he resented the villain for making him sweat. Shia observed that at least the priest survived. Roland had to admit that under the circumstances, it was the absolute truth. He asked the young traveler what he wanted. Shia explained he just had a question. Our hero asked how to reach the beginner safe zone. The young man explained that this area was meant for weak players to safely train at their own easy pace. Shia realized this was the perfect spot for him, since he lacked fighting skills. Meanwhile, Roland suspected a dark motive from the Demon King. Fresh players were spawning in those safe havens, rookies who might grow strong enough to defeat him. The priest believed Shia wanted to slaughter them while they were helpless. It was a vile scheme. Roland refused to cooperate. He would not betray humanity, even at the cost of his own life. The priest decided that first and foremost, he must escape. To accomplish that, he had to leave this area. Roland felt deeply ashamed. Could he really claim to be humanity's ultimate hope? After running away, Shia said he depended on him because he sensed the priest was a truly good person. Roland turned back, smiling and waving goodbye to the Demon King. He planned to quickly reach safety and report to a high-level NPC. Suddenly, a massive beast lunged above them. The creature roared, but Roland kept his cool and struck back. Shia cowered in terror, yet he was quietly impressed, noting that even with low health, this priest could take down high-level monsters. Just then, a second beast spawned and lunged at Shia. Roland wondered if the Demon King would finally reveal his real power and expose his hidden combat skills. Instead, Shia frantically ran toward the priest and begged for protection. Roland stood there utterly dumbfounded. The beast leaped into the air, preparing to strike them once more. Roland had absolutely no choice. He He swung his massive blade and sliced the monster into pieces, while Shia kept clinging tightly to the priest. Roland thought this terrifying demon king was acting like a total amateur. Why put on this massive show? Even under vicious attack, he stood entirely still. Talk about extreme confidence, he did not even blink. Roland knew that despite holding absolute power, this tyrant was deeply flawed. The Demon King had no idea his true destroyer was standing right before him. Our priest smiled, feeling like luck was finally on his side, but then he stopped and asked the young man to please let go of his robes. Moving around like this was nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Shia began inspecting his gear, which had been scavenged from a random wandering boss, just moments ago, standing over the fallen corpse of the defeated Belial. Shia had asked the priest what loot he wanted to claim. Roland figured standard game logic would prevent an NPC from stealing monster loot. So when Shia eagerly declared that he would be taking all of it, Roland merely nodded, offering no objections. The young man beamed and thanked him. Happily pocketing Belial's left-behind treasures, he pointed out some divine garments, wondering if the priest might actually want to claim such rare armor. Roland flatly refused. Shia sighed in disappointment, muttering that due to inventory space limits, he could not carry them anyway. Suddenly, he spotted something else and waved Roland over in excitement. He had discovered Belial's secret diary. Inside, the late demoness had penned some highly explicit fantasies about the Demon King. The poor priest practically died of embarrassment, thinking how utterly degenerate these monsters were. He vowed never to let this world fall to such vile, depraved creatures. But Shia kept reading with intense curiosity, wishing he had been luckier. During his character creation, after all, the poor guy was stuck. He could not gain experience points, level up, or even equip basic gear. Survival had to come first. Looking up, the young player watched his powerful ally effortlessly fend off a pack of vicious predators. Shia stared in awe. He dreamed of one day becoming just as strong as this big brother. Roland snapped him out of his daydream, pointing toward their destination. He announced they had finally reached the safe zone. Stretching out before them was Kang University. Shia stared in absolute disbelief. This was his actual school. Back in the dark territory, whispers of a major defeat were spreading fast. Word had got out that Belial had failed her mission and was dead. Things were looking grim. A female demon argued they must dispatch a replacement immediately to find the newly reincarnated Demon King, but another pointed out a massive problem. Only the deceased Belial had seen his face in a prophetic dream. Then the sinister Babylon stepped forward. She was a master manipulator, feared by all. As one of the 7 great lords, she questioned how they would ever track him down. Now that their only lead was gone, that was when Mammon, another powerful lord, told everyone to stay calm. It turned out Belial had left behind a clue. Mammon revealed a portrait card showing the Demon King's face, reassuring the lords that this clue was more than enough to begin their search, urging everyone not to worry. The lords sighed in relief. Mammon had arrived at the perfect time. Babylon added that reports confirmed Roland had slain Belial and abandoned his starting area. He was now traveling toward a safe zone with a mysterious companion by his side. Mammon notes that this stranger could easily turn out to be the Demon King. Babylon adds that their demon informant had already sent over a photo of the unknown man. Pulling up the image, Babylon explains that this is exactly what the stranger looks like. The photo clearly shows Shia, with Balgil's blood smeared all over his face. Even with terror filling the boy's eyes, Mammon finds it hard to believe this is real. Still, it proves the demon lord escaped Roland's grasp and is actually safe. With zero time to lose, the demons decide they must move immediately. They need to gear up and locate their king before anyone else does. Meanwhile, Shia looks around. He asks in total disbelief if this place is actually supposed to be the safe zone. Crowds of people are lined up everywhere. What is going on here? Roland is absolutely sure his trap for the Demon King is brilliant. But honestly, this smug guy has absolutely no clue what is about to hit him. In reality, this entire agricultural university is just one massive trap disguised as a safe zone. It runs on a post-burst system designed to completely seal away any monster's abilities. Even the strongest beast will end up entirely helpless, like a fish trapped in a jar. Those are the immutable rules of the game, and the priest is absolutely counting on them. He believes that the moment the Demon King steps inside, they will easily suppress him. Once captured, neutralizing him is effortless. Roland is absolutely certain the Demon King is finished. His own sheer arrogance will destroy him, fulfilling the prophecy. Roland will finally step up as the true hero, leading humanity to absolute victory. Just then, the group is met by two local officials, namely the boss and his assistant, who instantly recognize the legendary hero destined to save everyone. The assistant looks stunned because he never expected the great Roland to drop by. He calls it a massive honor. Roland humbly shrugs it off, saying he does not deserve such high praise. The assistant then mentions hearing that the priest went directly to the Demon King's birthplace. To end the threat right then and there, Roland flinches and cuts him off. He sternly warns them to drop the subject immediately, but the curious guide keeps on pressing. Did he slice the Demon King to shreds? How did it go? Shia speaks up, saying that Roland actually turned out to be an incredibly kind and amazing person. The guide is completely baffled, wondering how his legendary identity could still be a secret to anyone. He proudly declares that standing right here is the hope of humanity, Roland lay. The ancient prophecy points directly to him as the savior who will unite all players. Together they will crush the Demon King. Then, the assistant reports the completion of the giant steel bolt system inside the safe zone, which is now ready. He asks Shia if he knows what the steel bolt actually does. Panicking, Roland snaps at the guide to shut up, leaving Shia watching in absolute shock. As Roland grabs the man, shaking him wildly and asking if he wants to ruin their entire plan. Meanwhile, Shia thinks about his own dream of becoming a hero, wanting to be strong and kind like his brother. But Roland, that supposedly kind sibling, is secretly plotting the Demon King's demise. He nudges the young man forward. Only one more step forward, and their righteous cause will finally secure absolute victory over the enemy. Roland mutters to himself that this monster is about to taste true system energy. Shia blinks, completely confused by those words, and steps right into the safe zone. But strangely, the trap fails to activate. Roland instantly panics, breaking out in a cold sweat. He broke out in a cold sweat, but things were changing. The massive city tower was now cracking in several places. Roland wondered if it was connected. Could it be that this monster was too powerful for the system itself to contain? Shia asked his companion if this could really be the system's power. The protagonist figured it out. A powerful system surely protected the safe zone. Possessing immense power, anyone stepping inside should be totally safe, but this failed to put Roland's mind at ease. He was genuinely terrified. What was the young Demon King planning next? Suddenly, something insane happened in the open plaza. Everything violently shook as the world plunged into darkness. Everyone panicked, wondering if they were under attack, but the very next moment, light returned. The panicked guide assumed it was just a server crash. The leader urged everyone to calm down, calling it a minor glitch. The senior guide declared they were in a safe zone, shielded by their post-burst device. He promised that as long as they stayed close to his protective range, he would protect them. They were completely safe. Then the crowd looked up in surprise. Wait, look at that monument. Had the steel bolt always looked like this? It was no longer a smooth, towering spire. Still, the guide insisted that there was no need to worry. Roland, the true hope of humanity, was nearby. The officer begged Mr. Roland to say something reassuring to the crowd. Standing in the safe zone with Zioya, Roland dropped to his knees, shouting in sheer terror that the Demon King had tricked and broken the entire system, leaving behind a giant heart shape. This was definitely some cruel joke. He tried using the steel monument to impose restrictions on the Demon King using systemic power, but the Demon King shattered his efforts instantly, reducing his attack to dust. The trembling priest muttered about the terrifying gap in their strength. Roland began wondering if he should simply give up. Shia casually asked Roland how he was feeling. Shia added that the server just lagged a little, and it was completely fine. Shia told him to pull himself together quickly, since everyone was watching. He reminded the priest that as the last hope of humanity, he couldn't afford to panic since the game had only just begun. The priest thought this Demon King was acting completely out of line. What did the monster actually want? Roland demanded that Shia tell him outright what his true goal was. Shia replied that Roland was being way too dramatic, adding that he did have one specific request. Shia decided he absolutely needed to master culinary skills if he wanted to survive here. Roland had expected some terrifying, world-ending demand, but wait for it, the guy literally just wants to learn to cook. Shia remarked that Roland would still lead players to victory against the Demon King. Shia confessed that he had always loved heroic legends as a kid and dreamed of being a hero, but a system glitch ruined his plans, sending his life completely off course. Still, he refused to give up. Shia insisted he would not be discouraged at all. Even if he had to start as a cook, he would do whatever it took to become a legendary hero, begging Roland to train him. The priest found this. Things get weird. Roland drags Shia straight to the cooking mentor Hiri. He wonders if this kid is just trying to dodge real fights by taking the easy way out. The first aid mentor, Li Bingbing, chimes in, saying everyone would gladly avoid fighting monsters if they could. She even asks if this young guy honestly thinks cooking is going to make him rich. Learning these trades is incredibly expensive. Most players have to watch every single copper. They might grind for hours just to make 10 silver coins, and that is barely enough for basic skills. Then Shia flashes his cash, mountains of gold. The mentors immediately bow and apologize. Li Bingbing admits there is definitely something special about a kid who can rake in this much cash. Since they are just non-player characters, they are not about to rob him for his wealth. Still, that gold is only enough to master one basic skill. It will not cut it if he wants to instantly max out his level. He will not see any profit without serious cooking skills, especially now with the two worlds merging so fast. Resources and starting players are flooding every corner of the market. The crafting ingredients he needs are almost completely sold out everywhere. If he wants to brute force his level, he will have to buy from overpriced system shops. Instead, he should just invest that cash into high-level combat gear. Shia just smiles and tells them he has his own private reasons for doing this. Shia turns his gaze toward Roland. Is there really no other way, he asks. The poor priest panics. Why on earth is the terrifying Demon King staring directly at him? Shia already terrified him, completely humiliated him, and now he wants his money too. Roland figures a holy man should rather die than endure this kind of absolute humiliation, but his willpower cracks. He reluctantly pulls out a heavy pouch of cash, telling Shia that this is literally everything he has on him. Our main character snatches the bag, claiming he would never dream of borrowing from brother Roland, but Li Bingbing steps in, saying it is still not enough. Shia looks right back at Roland with hungry eyes. Desperate to pay, Roland starts stripping off his fancy robes, but it is still not enough. Next goes his sword, but the mentors shake their heads again. In the end, poor Roland is standing there in his underwear, and honestly, some hardcore fans would probably pay top dollar for this view. The priest is absolutely fuming. He is convinced this ruthless demon lord is taking everything from him, right down to his final pair of underwear, the dream of any fan. Li Bingbing is savage, declaring it is still not enough, even basic life Skills cost as much as a C-rank combat ability. Mentor Hiri asks if Roland has a luxury watch hidden somewhere. Roland breaks down. That was a coming of age gift from his dad. Li Bingbing wonders why the priest is being so generous too. Our hero, maybe he sees true potential in Shia. Meanwhile, Shia holds the priest's watch in his hands, completely puzzled by this turn of events. He explains that he only told Roland about his dream to become a hero, asking for a little backup. He never expected this crazy priest to take it so literally. Talk about wholesome. Right now, this so-called hope of humanity is starting to deeply regret his life choices. Li Bingbing tells Shia that if he needs some quick cash, he should go deal with the system merchants. Fresh players usually sell off whatever trash they loot. The trading hub is basically a system shop, even an E-class rat. A tail costs 3 copper coins. Basic underwear, that runs 8 coppers. An E-class skeleton finger goes for 32. Business is tough today. Local merchants offer players fair trade value. Trash or treasure, they buy it. One player gets offered a single silver and 20 coppers for a helmet. He feels totally cheated. This tiny payout is nowhere near enough. With rates this bad, upgrading skills is impossible. Meanwhile, Ziyi approaches. Another player walks away crying. Our hero watches them pass by silently. He sighs. No matter how the world changes, cash remains the ultimate hurdle. Stepping up, Ziyi tells the merchant he has some loot to sell. The man happily agrees to look. Ziyi pulls out a glorious holy sword, along with a sleek long coat, matching shorts, and a gold watch. The shopkeeper is completely stunned, realizing these are actually legendary S-rank treasures. They look incredibly familiar. He suddenly remembers the legendary priest, humanity's hope. It hits him, these divine items belong directly to Lord Roland. Next, Ziyi casually pulls Belial's highly provocative lingerie from his inventory. A shocked customer asks if those skimpy garments also belong to Roland. This seems extremely suspicious. The merchant demands an immediate official appraisal. 2 of the presented items still remain completely unidentified for now. He triggers his appraisal skill and is hit with instant shock. The items are demon horns, highly valuable materials for medicine and cooking. They carry a potent aphrodisiac effect, alongside clothing from Demoness Belial. With everything identified, the total valuation skyrockets to an absolute fortune. The merchant is absolutely thrilled. Talk about a jackpot for Ziyi. A nearby player is outraged. He only got 2 silvers for heavy armor. And now this guy gets 300 gold for a scrap of cloth. The merchant tells him he understands nothing. Some items are better thin. Raising the cloth to his face, he sighs at how incredibly soft it is. It is light as air, carrying a delicate scent of perfume and salt. He immediately decides to double the payout for such a rare piece. Any fabric carrying Belial's personal scent is worth a literal fortune. The merchant proudly offers a staggering 700 gold coins for it. Ziyi is satisfied, but the dealer advises him to hold on. If he sells it now, the system will just recycle it forever. It will disappear completely from the world. However, Ziyi already has other plans. He explains that this legendary gear cannot be sold or traded away. The dealer suggests he keep it, even if the style is unconventional. Once he reaches the proper level, he can actually wear it himself. It would provide an absolutely massive power boost to his combat stats. He could easily crush any rival, but Belial's outfit gets recycled anyway. The demon horns are also recycled, which the merchant considers a waste. In this massive multiplayer game, many strive solely to defeat the boss. Their only goal is saving humanity, while others fight to dominate the arenas. Some prefer casual exploration, discovering the massive open world at their pace. Then you have the ultra-rich pay-to-win whales, who simply buy whole guilds. With massive gold, high-tier combat skills are no longer required to win. He can even help defeat the final boss. With deep pockets, who needs weapons anyway? No sword needed. the beast is dead, unlocking yet another achievement. Just like that, Shia officially unlocks the rare savior skill. The watching crowd is completely stunned. Who on earth is this mysterious Shia? He obliterated a demon in one hit, stepping onto the true path of a hero. With massive wealth, this player easily buys his way to legendary heroic status. Even a nearby girl instantly praises the wealthy Shia as her absolute idol and savior. Having money means hiring elite bodyguards to do all the heavy lifting for him. They protect him while he relaxes, painting a very bright future indeed. But deep down, Shia really wants to become the ultimate master chef. His culinary mentor drops by to ask how his kitchen training is going. Shia casually replies that he has already reached the absolute maximum level. The mentor explains that the upcoming intermediate tier will be vastly harder. He tells the boy to stay focused and keep practicing new cooking techniques. But Shia simply strolls past him, leaving the mentor completely dumbfounded. The young man points out he maxed out every single class skill already. Shiri cannot believe it. Did this monster actually reach Grandmaster level? Unwittingly, the Demon King has just marked himself as his own ultimate target. An NPC's entire purpose is helping players level up in this dangerous realm. A player must slay the Demon King, but basic survival here is brutal. So yeah, Shia realizes it is finally time to map out his next move. With a plan in mind, he heads straight toward the guild assembly hall. He heard rumors that the local party members there are highly leveled. Already at level 15. One rogue boasts that their squad easily ranks among the top 5. They operate like pure pros and routinely crush level 6 monsters. Shia overhears them talking about their team leader, a former professional player. Jin Heijun is a level 16 professional rogue with massive combat power. Ranked second overall, he tells the group they are ready to march. But Luju, a level 15 archer, suggests adding one more member first. The monsters ahead are growing way too strong to fight understaffed. Jin Heijun snaps back. Taking a 5th member means splitting the loot. He did the math, and their current group of 4 is plenty. Also rounding out their elite ranks is Anlu, a silent professional assassin. Her high level is completely hidden. Jin Heijun emphasizes peak efficiency. If anyone starts dragging the team down, they are getting kicked. He will replace slacking members instantly, even if it is his own family. Hearing this, Obara promises to play her role perfectly to stay. As a level 16 priest, she knows her support heals are vital. Jin Heijun warns the girls that they must give this raid everything. But get this, Jin Heijun suddenly receives a request from Shia to join them. He is instantly annoyed. Who is this complete random trying to join? Suspecting some kind of scam, Jin Heijun declines the join request. There is no way this scrub can fool a seasoned veteran like him. But Shia is incredibly persistent, sending invitation after invitation to get in. A trade request pops up. Filled with curiosity, Chinho Jan decides to accept it. The system immediately alerts him that 10 gold coins were sent to the squad leader. Chinho is completely shocked, wondering how this is even possible. He had only saved 2 gold coins himself, yet this stranger has 10 and hands them over so easily. In this world, scarce resources make learning combat skills a calculated risk. Every warrior has to focus on mastering the absolute essentials first. 10 gold coins are more than enough to unlock skills and buy high-tier gear. This would boost their leveling speed 5 times over. Chinho is left utterly baffled. Who would throw away gold like this, and how does he even have this much? He starts wondering if this rich guy is actually just a clever con artist. After hesitating for a moment, the squad leader cannot refuse this offer. Chinho accepts, thinking this Shia is incredibly foolish for giving away his money. But then another message notification pops up. Shia is requesting to join their team. When they finally meet face to face, Chinho realizes that Shia wants a personal escort. The little client explains that after doing some research, he learned the truth. People told him his home is currently overrun by level 18 moles. He cannot face those beasts alone, which is why he decided to hire their squad. Luju immediately snaps, telling him to stop playing around since they do not do charity. Their squad rating is on the line. Chinho, however, wonders why she is being so harsh. After all, they are getting paid a very generous sum of gold. The captain reminds them that a professional team should always show kindness to clients. He makes the executive decision to accept the job, much to her annoyance. Luju argues that they are a top-ranked squad. Why take such a low-tier request? Chinho just smiles and gestures for the frustrated girl to take a look. He points directly to the squad information board, leaving Luju completely stunned. Where did the captain get this gold? Could it really be from that frail client? Did that little guy actually hand over every single coin he owned? The squad archer speculates there must be a valuable treasure hidden at his home. That would explain why he was willing to pay 10 whole gold coins. Chinho agrees, imagining a massive pile of loot waiting for them. Obara looks worried. She asks if the commander is seriously planning to steal the client's treasures. Chinho points out that the stash must be worth far more than 10 coins, claiming it would give their squad a massive boost in overall combat power. He reasons that if they face a life-or-death battle, 10 gold coins is too cheap. Luju sighs deeply, completely speechless at her commander's shameless logic. The team looks up to find that Anlu has randomly climbed up a nearby lamppost. She always marches to her own beat, shouting down that she is definitely in. If there is a profit to be made, she is ready. Obara tries to object. Chinho shuts her down, casually telling her that nobody cares. With visions of endless treasure in mind, he declares that the hunt is finally on. The extermination goes incredibly well. Each member of this squad is a true elite. Shia guides them closer, pointing out that his home is on the 6th floor. Chinho reassures the nervous gnome, telling him not to worry about level 18 beasts. His team members are top-tier pros. Once they clear the way, they escort Shia. They warily enter the quiet courtyard of his building, but Obara suddenly warns him. Something was off here. Ever since taking on this mission, Obara felt uneasy. Little did they know, this high-rise apartment building was actually a level 25 quest zone. Hajin scoffed, asking if she honestly thought she knew the game better than him. The squad leader added that if Obara did not understand how things worked here, she should shut her mouth and follow their lead. One more error, and he would abandon her. Meanwhile, Shia approached his designated door. Shia announced his arrival, thinking this squad seemed highly reliable and easy to work with. Feeling relaxed, he listened as Hajin casually told him to go grab his gear. The young man stepped forward and slid his key right into the door lock. Right behind his back, Hajin drew his blade, but a massive monster suddenly lunged. The vicious rat slammed into the leader, forcing the entire party to scatter. Ruined, his backstabbing scheme completely fell apart right there. He gasped, could a level 22 A-rank beast actually be here? Looking back, Hajin frantically yelled to make sure everyone had made it out. Fortunately, the main team was unharmed, but Obara asked in a shaky voice where the boy went. Then she noticed a massive hole shattered in the floor. Shia had plummeted right through it. Hajin chuckled at his loss, but Lu leaped in. She shouted that she would save him. Hajin was completely stunned by her reckless action. After all, the giant rat was still pacing menacingly right around the edge. Hajin glared down, calling the rescue attempt pointless, but Lu ignored his complaints. She calmly stated they had a much bigger problem to deal with first. Even with a decent squad, their lack of real teamwork ruined their chances. It was highly unlikely 3 divided players could take down an A-rank boss. Obara voiced her doubts about survival, but Lu quickly cut her off. She argued they still had a shot, though the stakes were incredibly high. The treasure was right here. Leaving empty-handed after wasting so much time was completely out of the question. Pausing to analyze the situation, Lu quietly noted that their immediate priority was simply to take a step back and fall out. Meanwhile, Hajin watched the beast closely, realizing something was wrong. The massive rat suddenly shrieked, screaming out that it felt the terrifying aura of the demon king nearby. It peered straight down the dark abyss, claiming the sovereign had fallen inside. Tumbling down the dark void, Shia braced himself, wondering if this was the end. Would his gaming system revive him like those standard fantasy web novels? Shia landed, completely unharmed and feeling absolutely zero pain. A system alert flashed, granting an achievement for surviving a 20-meter fall. Looking up into the pitch darkness, Shia pondered his next move in this deep pit. He figured his squad would come down to save him if he waited. But out of the shadows behind him, multiple pairs of glowing eyes emerged. The lower beasts squeaked in their language, asking what brought the sovereign here. Since it was pure beast chatter, Shia did not comprehend a single word. Gone, a sudden strike vaporized the pack, leaving Shia completely stunned. Looking at the piles of bloodied monster carcasses, he saw Lu standing nearby. She calmly assured him there was no reason to fear, leaving Shia utterly baffled. How had she managed to descend the deep pit so incredibly fast? Lu warned him of the dangers here, noting the sheer wall was impossible to climb. Zia suggests taking the stairs, and Lu tells her boss to lead. Since he is the one paying, he should go first, but he hesitates. Lu asks if he really wants a shadow assassin leading the way. After all, her entire line of work is done completely in the dark. Zia cannot figure her out, but he desperately needs her protection. Lu reassures him again, telling him there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Secretly, she thinks he is an idiot for walking ahead of her. By taking the lead, he leaves his entire back wide open to her. He will die without ever realizing her real target is his treasure. This guy is going to regret his choices. Lu readies her skill. She activates her backstab skill without our oblivious hero suspecting a thing. But as she strikes, a roasted chicken suddenly appears in Zia's hands. Her weapon hits the poultry, leaving Lu completely stunned. A perfect, deadly strike was completely blocked by a piece of food. What is happening? Zia casually explains his intense training. He spent years honing his culinary skills to absolute perfection. Since her stamina is clearly low, he suggests she try a bite. Did she pull out her dagger just to carve the meat? Lu steps back. Something is seriously wrong with this guy. He looks weak, yet he threw 10 gold coins around so easily. On top of that, his cooking skills just completely blocked her attack. She suspects he knew about her assassination attempt beforehand. Even a level 16 warrior cannot block a strike like that. Honestly now, what kind of secrets is this guy actually hiding? What if the chicken is poisoned? It could be a trap. A single bite might turn her into his mindless, obedient puppet. Lu resolves to refuse the food, but her stomach instantly betrays her. She cannot resist taking a bite, while Zia asks how she likes it. Her focus slips away instantly, because that incredible smell completely broke her. Suddenly, a warm, pure energy surges through her entire body. The sheer pleasure of the food leaves her utterly embarrassed. Then a brilliant golden light flashes. She has officially leveled up. She is no longer just a trainee. Lu is a real assassin now. That single piece of chicken completely boosted her stats and rank. This is no ordinary snack. It is a legendary stat modifier. She pauses, time to recalculate the power dynamic between them. Lu has defeated elite players before, yet she stands helpless here. Could this seemingly ordinary guy be stronger than her own commander? Without any hesitation, Lu bows deeply and swears her absolute loyalty now. She promises to obey his every command. Zia is completely baffled. Wait, did she just decide to marry him over some chicken? What in the world is wrong with this absolute game logic? He quickly tells her she does not owe him anything crazy. He is fine if she simply keeps him safe on this trip. After all, he is the one who paid for the escort service. Lai felt a bit confused, as no one had ever treated her with such kindness before. She promised to protect Lai, just as Shinhan fended off a sudden monster attack. It was a giant mutant sewer rat, but the beast was quickly taken down. The monster refused to get up, believing it had accidentally attacked the Demon King. Thinking it was beyond saving, the mutant rat bit its own tongue. It took its own life, finding peace and self-forgiveness in its final moment. With its inner peace restored, Shinhan stood there shocked at the sudden suicide. Obara agreed that was likely. Meanwhile, their squad commander boasted of his victory. Defeating a rank monster with a 6-level gap made Hajin look incredibly skilled. This feat actually unlocked a new title for him, the Extremely Strong Man. The commander never expected such incredible luck. Maybe he really was the main character. What other secret powers would awaken inside him? Still, Obara had her doubts. She felt like something was deeply wrong, growing highly uncomfortable in this area. Shinhan brushed it off as groundless anxiety, but the commander kept bragging. He proudly declared his supreme power after defeating a level 22 elite monster. He did it with one blow, then turned to a bear to claim he feared nothing. But the girl was terrified, warning everyone that a new threat was lurking behind. Hajin did not understand why she looked so incredibly frightened. Obara warned him that he was looking the wrong way entirely. The real beast was right behind him, instantly knocking Hajin to the floor. The devastating impact shaved off half his health, leaving the commander completely baffled. Standing before them was a terrifying level 35 monster. It was a demon cat, and it immediately unleashed a deafening roar skill. Luju and Obara were completely frozen and stunned by the power of the roar. Obara wondered why such a high-level beast was roaming outside a dungeon. Luju was equally confused, while Obara recalled her bad feeling from earlier. She knew something was off the moment they stepped into this building. Luju noted there were far too many level 22 monsters crawling around here. As Obara panicked, the commander volunteered to draw the creature's attention. He urged them to prepare to retreat, but Hajin was struck again. Sent flying by the blow, the injured commander desperately begged for healing. Obara quickly activated her recovery skill, pouring healing light to keep him alive. Feeling the healing energy, Hajin tried to scramble back into position. But the demon cat was relentless, forcing Obara to keep spamming heals. They were running out of steam, and Shinhan could only watch in silence. Even the demon cat was impressed by how long the commander survived. It recognized him as a truly resilient opponent for standing his ground so long. Eventually, Hajin told the beast to stop, completely ready to accept his death. Luju called it a perfect ambush, noting even 5 players could not win. Defeating a level 35 monster was impossible, so Obara suggested clearing an escape. She wanted to create a path for Hajin, but was suddenly shocked. Looking back, she was shocked to see that Luju had already sprinted far away. The archer argued that their alliance was strictly for a winning battle. Since survival was now impossible, the contract they had was officially void. Obara found the logic cold but reasonable, yet it felt incredibly cruel. Right then, Heijun plays dead, while Shea heads upstairs and steps outside. The cat spots the young man and rushes over. Shea hugs him, incredibly happy that Bao Bao is safe. He is so glad his pet is okay. Han and Obaru watch on, absolutely terrified. They watch in total shock, as Shea cuddles the terrifying demon cat like a baby. Obaru cannot believe her eyes. Is the terrifying boss of this dungeon actually his pet? Shea simply heads inside his apartment, immediately looking for something to feed the cat. He needs to feed Bao Bao, clean up his litter box, and wash some dirty dishes. Han mutters that even though their plans failed, at least they managed to survive. Sure, Shea looks totally weak, but he somehow tamed the giant boss of this dungeon. That means this kid is way more valuable than they originally thought. As long as they keep him alive, they can exploit his power for themselves. Heijun smiles, realizing that Anlu had the right idea all along. Compared to the others, she is definitely his most reliable ally. Heijun decides to reward her loyalty with a massive hug from a real man. The squad leader proudly tells the girls to relax, promising they will remain the ultimate team. Watch closely, Anlu suddenly draws her sharp dagger and swings it with a grin. She coldly declares that anyone threatening Lord Shea deserves to be completely destroyed. Heijun starts bleeding heavily, demanding to know what she is doing. Anlu glares down at him, asking how a pathetic weakling like him dares question her. Without another word, she drives the blade forward with 2 lightning-fast thrusts. She brutally stabs both her commander and their archer. Obaru screams for her to stop. But Anlu simply retorts that these idiots have absolutely no idea who they crossed. Right then Shea walks back out, announcing he is finished packing his things. He is ready to leave, with the lazy cat still perched on his shoulder. The legendary dungeon boss is currently purring like a normal pet. Shea explains that he was not around when the apocalypse first began. So he was determined to find his cat no matter what. Anlu bows deeply. She says she finally understands everything now and calls themselves colleagues from now on. Shea notes that people should not only look out for themselves in this world. They must also take responsibility for their companions. Either way, they should return to town. Walking forward, Shea steps in fresh blood and gasps at the sight of the bodies. Terrified, he looks down at the bleeding members and demands to know what happened. Anlu calmly explains that since they were heavily wounded, she decided to show mercy. She claims they had no hope of survival, so she put them down. Meanwhile, Obaru desperately casts her healing spells. Heijun sits up, groaning in pain. He complains that he is only 2/3 healed. Anlu coldly steps closer. She explains that his wound is severe because his intestines were completely spilled. Han is horrified to hear this, while Anlu sighs that there is absolutely no hope. Terrified, Heijun begs Obaru to keep casting her healing magic on him. But the healer tearfully admits she cannot speed up the process. He is bleeding out too fast, while Anlu just watches with a smug smirk. After all, she coated her dagger with a deadly poison before the fight. How could level 22 and 35 monsters fail to kill him, only for a player to succeed? Anlu raises her weapon once more, whispering that they picked the absolute wrong target. In his final moments, Heijun finally realizes the massive mistake he made. Only now did he begin to regret his sheer ignorance, but it was far too late. Unexpectedly, Shia stepped up to try, adding that he could save them. Holding a mysterious item, Shia claimed he could heal them right then and there. In his hands was a patterned bandage made of rare, ghostly phantom fabric. This A-rank item restored health over 8 seconds, and Lu Ju noticed it. Lu Ju realized it was crafted using the high-level first aid skill. Hao Jan determined that this was an elite, top-tier bandage, which was unbelievably rare. Maxing out this skill from beginner to advanced is ridiculously expensive. Plus, you need a separate recipe just to craft the bandage itself. A single wrap heals as much as 5 professional healers working full-time. Even better, tanky defensive warriors can use it right in mid-battle. But early on, fabric was scarce, so nobody wasted resources on first aid. Honestly, players back then simply couldn't afford to invest in it. But Shia wanted to survive, so he prioritized medical treatment above all else. To him, staying alive in this world was the ultimate goal. So he quietly pushed his first aid skills to the absolute limit. He admitted he never even expected this hobby to become so useful. Shinhajin was stunned that this guy easily threw around 10 gold coins. He tamed dungeon bosses as pets and mastered impossible crafting skills. The squad leader felt like an absolute fool for ever trying to mess with him. Honestly, who wouldn't? Shia decided they would heal these 2 first, then break them again. The girls smiled at Shia's playful side, while Shinhajin and Lu Ju shivered in fear. Shia tossed over a bandage, telling the squad leader to use it fast. Hao Jan stared in awe. Was he even worthy of such legendary phantom cloth? Shia snapped back, telling him to shut up because life is what matters most. Nothing is more precious than survival. Hao Jan burst into tears of gratitude. He sobbed, swearing that he was deeply indebted to his new boss forever. Suddenly, a transaction request window popped up right in front of him. Shia casually remarked that while he hated taking money, he wouldn't say no. And just like that, Hao Jan ended up losing 12 gold coins. Lu Ju lost 80 silver coins too, but Shia told them not to worry. Since he took their cash, he promised he wouldn't let them die. The glowing phantom bandage automatically wrapped itself around the squad leader's body. Another rare bandage quickly bound itself around Chinhajan's heavy wounds. This wasn't just a simple wrap, it completely closed the deep slash on his back. Amazingly, the phantom cloth even seemed to soothe his weary soul. Then a system alert popped up with a friendly reminder. So be it, Hao Jan thought, as the squad braced themselves. Suddenly, the squad leader, archer, and healer all leveled up instantly. Their trainee titles vanished, and they felt a rush of fresh, raw power. Not only were their bodies fully healed, but they had evolved completely. Hao Jan realized there must be a hidden modifier inside that legendary bandage. The young men bowed deeply, showing their absolute respect to their savior. From today, Shia was basically their big brother, and they would gladly die for him. But Shia just shrugged. He didn't need honors. This was just business. To save a human life, the young man pointed out the phantom cloth bandage. Cost 30 gold pieces. He said they could pay him back whenever they got it. At 35% interest, and Lu realized she understood his real motive. Using his user interface, the boss was going to bleed them dry. He was a true pro at this, and Zia certainly knew how to enjoy himself. Then the announced they had fully cleared the dungeon, awarding 50,000 massive points. Suddenly, an international alert popped up. A squad had conquered the apartment building dungeon. Now this victorious squad ranked first in the entire standings. Shai was shocked. Was this real? H-Zan confirmed it, asking if the boss wore the dungeon leader directly on his head like some pet. Shai froze in disbelief. Was that thing really on his head? But they weren't the only ones notified of this epic clearance. Roland received the shocking news too. The priest stood stunned. Had the Demon King actually cleared his own campus dungeon? Everyone on the streets was going wild, praising the new #1 team. Those who cleared a dungeon above level 100 paraded proudly through the streets. Shai kept desperately explaining to passersby that he was just a client and had absolutely nothing to do with it. The crowd countered, calling Hajin a legendary professional gamer who was once a top-ranked player in massive multiplayer online games. Hajin waved, saying that everyone here already knew about him. Hajin proudly admitted that they had cleared the dungeon purely thanks to his older brother. Suddenly, a strange voice spoke up. Offering warm congratulations, the players spun around. Priest Roland was standing on the road ahead, looking serious. Roland knew he had to keep quiet, no slip-ups allowed. He could not reveal the Demon King. Roland praised their incredible feat on behalf of the Heavenly City, offering his deep gratitude. Jay was thrilled to see Roland's younger brother, but Roland suddenly bound them all with a whip, saying he was taking 4 warriors to receive their official medals. The crowd gasped in shock. Why only 4? Shai quickly explained yet again that he was just a client, which is why they skipped him. Roland quietly warned Hajin that he was talking too much. Did he want to get himself killed? The terrified group leader wondered if humanity's shining hope really had such a terrifying, freezing temperament. Roland told the trembling squad he wanted to clarify a few facts. This man had an incredibly complex personality, and Lu was stunned, wondering what the priest meant. Roland then asked if the team even knew why that guy had not mentioned his rank and class, and Lu replied that he was simply keeping them hidden. Roland sighed, saying it was far more complex The guy did not have any class or rank at all. Everyone gasped, what did that mean? And Lu realized the truth. He was a demon. Obara was shattered with fear, as Enlu pointed out that. With such immense power, he had to be a high-tier demon. Roland had not expected the quiet girl to be so sharp. He felt relieved. His hunch was correct, but warned that Zia was far more dangerous than ordinary. Demons, after a heavy silence, the priest dropped the truth. He is the demon. King, every single player gasped in shock except for Enlu. Killer smirked and said, "Not bad at all." Roland noted the Demon King had disguised himself exceptionally well as a simple newbie, even starting to think exactly like a beginner. To prevent the absolute worst outcome, his movements must be carefully controlled. The priest added he was fully ready to reveal his ultimate power if pushed. Though that meant massive destruction, Roland knew this squad held the top rankings, making them humanity's ultimate hope. With a serious look, Roland extended his hand, proposing they work together to find a way to defeat the demon. King, shaking his hand, Hausen assured him that their victory was now fully guaranteed. The priest smiled, the deal finally done, confirming this was their sacred agreement. They had to seek justice together to save this world, but Luigi questioned. Luigi noted his combat power was unmatched, asking if their leader truly wanted to team up with Roland and go head-to-head against Jaya. But Hausen quickly set her straight, admitting he was merely deceiving the priest. The commander explained that as a professional, he saw the battlefield clearly. No one alive could match that power, so why risk his life as an enemy? Hausen argued that anyone who betrayed them in their darkest hour had zero right to lecture them about righteousness, and Luigi had to admit he was right. Either way, their ultimate goal was victory, but Luigi firmly declared that if they wanted to be Jaya's obedient servants, she would happily leave the squad. The commander was shocked. Was this the same submissive girl who once seemed so gentle and easygoing? Hausen warned her that if she ever attacked a teammate again, he would stop her, but Luigi replied that everything depended on the situation. Meanwhile, Obara stepped in, saying she wanted to stay with the squad, but Hausen cut her off, saying, "That was perfect." Obara quickly pointed out she was not done speaking. But the leader declared they would walk the path of villains, talk about a twist. For the first time, a human squad aligned with the Demon King. Elsewhere, a leader heard that a team of players had successfully conquered the dungeon, which his assistant quickly confirmed. The assistant added that humans are incredibly persistent, always breaking past their own limits to achieve unexpected results, which impressed the boss. He called it magnificent, believing they finally had a shot at defeating the demon King, but his assistant interrupted with both good and bad news to share. He revealed that Roland had safely returned, prompting the boss to ask if their dangerous mission to eliminate the Demon King had actually succeeded. But the assistant delivered the bad news. Roland brought him here, shocking the boss. He demanded to know what that meant, wondering if the priest played some game. The young assistant added that Roland sent a message with a shocking detail. The Demon King was not born as an infant, but was already a fully grown adult. Roland was prepared to discuss all the critical details directly with senior management, even inviting the general himself straight into the main meeting room. The guards respectfully greeted Lord Roland as the assistant approached him, stating that the leadership was already waiting inside for his arrival. He offered to assist with anything Roland needed, and the priest politely thanked him. Inside the grand conference room, massive screens displayed the top leaders, all gathered online to critically discuss what had just occurred. What happened to the Demon King? The priest explained everything. Things took a very unexpected turn. He twisted heavy burnt steel without even using his hands into a perfect heart shape. Unbelievable, even their legendary high-tier system. Artifacts failed to restrain him. The boss is simply an absolute beast. Roland reasoned that the Demon King forced them to join hands with humanity. Compromise was necessary. He had softened, Still, questions began to pour out. Why would he want this? Roland muttered that he should have guessed his true motives immediately. The bystanders nodded. They expected nothing less from him. He is their savior, the hope of all humanity, the priest then spoke. The boss wants to infiltrate player society, to cause massive, quiet chaos, breaking their political groups and alliances from the inside. By doing this, destroying everyone would be easy. Roland added that during his encounter today, the monster had already blended in with the most talented player squad. High Council leaders nervously asked if Roland had managed to take measures. Thankfully, the priest arrived right in time. He stepped in quickly. He shut down the plot and even managed to secure a partnership. He joined forces with Shinheijin, the top leader. The council listened carefully. They finally understood. The enemy built this massive dungeon to show off his overwhelming status. Right now, two separate classes of monsters exist here. The first class answers to pure evil, made of mutated surface beasts. These corrupted plants and mutated rats crawl all over the dungeon floor. But the second class is different, the true demons, the world's nightmare. They serve under the Demon King's direct orders as our primary enemies. Their master rules them all. His goal is total and absolute destruction. That is the core lore of Fate of the Earth, a brutal story. Demon power is on a completely different level compared to mutated animals. Only the absolute strongest can lead pure elites of their deadly army. The dungeon boss they just fought was one of those terrible commanders. This structure is a base built on the surface by the enemy. To ensure his dark plans succeed, he unleashed an absolute nightmare creature. A bystander spoke up, wondering if the Demon King truly lost his memory or remained totally oblivious. Everyone turned to look in sudden shock. Roland calmly chimed in, noting that while the boss's actions seem innocent, that innocence is what makes his deep deception so terrifyingly brilliant. The priest admitted they had zero direct ways to challenge him yet. Their only option was waiting for players to reach the surface and grind. Only then could they stand a chance. Until that day comes, the Demon King must be kept at bay, the High Command's side. Their survival rested entirely on Roland. Gibbet stepped forward to offer assistance. He promised to watch the target closely and report back on everything. Roland smiled, feeling entirely convinced that he was indeed the ultimate savior. Meanwhile, Shia finally let out a long breath, feeling completely relaxed. Staring down at the thick pile of money, talk about irony, right? The old world currency was nothing more than useless waste paper now. In this deadly game, safety is the ultimate prize. He chose wisely. He bought a house inside the safe zone, which basically meant owning an entire administrative building, but doing this completely wiped out his stash of gold coins. Still, Shia could finally guarantee his safety this way. But he knew he could not just sit around while housing prices skyrocketed. He wanted to play, but lacking combat skills forced him to adapt. Making serious money was the new goal, so Shia focused on production. By crafting items for other players, he could easily charge them a commission. Collecting rare loot to sell or trade seemed like a solid plan. To kickstart things, Shia looked at what he had and decided to sell the demon egg. He remembered how much her horns and gear fetched, so the egg should be worth a fortune. But his luck ran out fast. Shia tripped over his own feet, taking a hard fall. The egg slipped, fell, and cracked right on the cold floor. Total disaster. If the shell was broken, its value was bound to plummet. He carefully wrapped the Belar egg in ghostly bandages, planning to sell it at dawn. Before it fell apart, he needed to act, but first, food and sleep. And overnight, watch as the cracked egg undergoes a shocking transformation. A tiny demon girl crawled out. She immediately announced her presence. She claimed to be the Great Belar, one of the 7 legendary kings. Reborn under the Dark King's protection, she was ready to serve him once again. Waking up in this weird place did not change her ultimate goal. The Demon King was destined to destroy the world, and she would find him. But as Bala looked around her new surroundings, she froze in surprise. Standing right there was the dungeon leader, the talking cat Beabo. The demon girl stared in complete shock. Where did this beast come from? She demanded to know why Beabo was there, leaving the cat highly confused. Balal explained she had actually seen Beabo while drifting through a dark void. Time had slowed down for her, leaving her trapped in a long prophetic dream. In that dream, a strange creature revealed a dark prediction to her. When the two worlds finally merge, the devil will lead his army to destroy humanity. And in that nightmare, Beabo was actually the devil's most trusted companion. Alongside them stood the terrifying demon king himself, mighty and supreme. Balal explained that this creature showed her exactly where the demon king would appear. So the moment she woke up, she rushed to find and greet her lord. But the heavenly city was already hunting her, with Roland hot on her heels. Still, she kept moving forward, refusing to let her search be stopped. She never expected Roland to ambush her at the Demon King's birth site. Now she urged Beabo that they had to find the Demon King immediately. But Beabo shook his head. There was no need for that anymore. The cat explained that the Demon King is not some weak level 1 baby. He does not need their protection and is completely self-sufficient. Honestly, his current power level is already pushing into the 4 digits. Beabo admitted he could not read the exact numbers on the screen. The system symbols were way too distorted to make out clearly. Besides, his displayed level is just a clever disguise to throw people off. Since he formed a soul bond with the Demon King, numbers mean nothing. She was stunned. Could Bao actually use the Demon King's own power? The cat explained that when the Demon King found him, he was only at level 35. They had been together for years, making their natural bond much stronger. Balal admitted she was pretty jealous, so the demoness decided she simply had to work hard to build a deep emotional connection with her beloved Demon King. Bao pointed out that their master had joined a human group and was currently working undercover. Balal figured the Demon King planned to fully infiltrate human society and destroy their entire political system. Bao added that his ultimate goal was far greater than just destroying their government. The demoness said that he truly was worthy of the title of Demon King, with power to destroy the entire world with one blow, his battle power easily compared to an atomic bomb, yet he chose to slowly savor the process. Bao noted that they must stay close to the Demon King and act completely useless. They absolutely could not take risks or interfere with his grand plan. Balal realized she simply had to play along, whether as a wife or servant. She'd gladly agree to anything. The cat had nothing more to say since the demoness seemed smart enough. If their master was keeping her, there had to be some kind of benefit to it. Shia walked out of the shower, called the cat, and mentioned he thought he heard voices. Shia then peeked into the room and spotted the demoness. Balal happily greeted him, saying her master had finally returned. The young man realized that she had actually hatched from that broken egg. Shia was totally surprised. She was incredibly tiny but fully alive, able to move, speak, and even laugh. The protagonist wondered if this meant she could be sold for more than the egg. Shia realized that before him stood a mini replica of the demons Roland had wiped out. The girl confirmed it, though Balal felt deeply ashamed meeting the Demon King in such a state. Shia admitted he had sold her clothes along with her horns, adding that since she was getting sold, she wouldn't need them anymore. Balal felt sad, assuming her master did this to somehow protect her from the hostile human race. In reality, her master only saved her to make a profit, and now she'd be sold off for cash. Yet Balal simply smiled, feeling incredibly inspired by it all. She declared that for the Demon King, she would gladly endure the contempt of humans along with their harsh taunts and beatings. There was a deep feeling of noble self-sacrifice in her voice, giving her a deep sense Of pride, but wait, is the legendary Demon King seriously that broke? No sooner had a follower appeared than he was ready to sell her off, thinking it over for a moment. Belar slowly realized something was majorly off. Still, she declared that if her master needed money, she could offer far better options. Suddenly, she glowed and stood right before the young man in her gorgeous, full-grown form. Just then, a delivery guy burst in with a jetpack on his back, announcing that their food order had arrived. Belar glanced at him, already tightly straddling the shocked protagonist. Shia stared back at the delivery guy, his eyes betraying a tiny glimmer of hope. The courier sheepishly muttered that this was amazing and he would get out of their way, leaving the food in the corner. Shia waved his hands frantically to explain that the guy had totally misunderstood the situation, but Shia asks Belial about other ways to make money, and she immediately replies she can show her master her special abilities right now, leaving Shia wondering. What is she thinking? He wonders while Belial gets ready to demonstrate. Eyes closed, she takes a deep breath, preparing to show him everything. A moment later, Belial shows her master that her demonic horns have fully grown back. She pulls the horns straight off and asks her master to take them. She reminds him that these horns can be exchanged for cold hard cash. Imagine that horror. Shia realizes her horns are a continuous source of cash. Her horns grow back daily. That means they can harvest them forever. Belial hands them over. She quietly begs her master not to sell her. Shia immediately reassures her. He would never dare sell such a precious helper. Conscience saved, he trades the horns for 6 gold coins. Now it is time to calculate the daily food expenses for Bao Bao and Belial. Shia figures that keeping Belial in her cute mini form will save them plenty. She will stay small and cost-effective until a special occasion actually demands otherwise. Belial then asks about their next move, which immediately makes Bao Bao panic. Bao Bao is outraged. Asking such direct questions in public could easily blow their cover. Shia explains that normal players grind and level up to clear these dungeons. But their situation is completely different. Survival is their only real goal. Belial nods in understanding. They should lie low and watch closely. They will just wait and see how things develop, even if it feels strange. They desperately need to save money to hire the captain of a prestigious team. Once they clear the final dungeon, they can finally afford to buy them out. Shia plans to buy cheap raw materials, craft them, and sell the goods. By doing this, he can easily pocket a steady profit from the commissions. But demand is low, and the profit margins on these items are tiny. That is exactly why Belial is so crucial, and she promises to work hard. With those horn resources, this little demon girl is looking pretty promising. The next morning arrives, and Shia steps out into the sunny courtyard. Belial waves to him happily from the window, feeling incredibly useful. She is thrilled to aid the Demon King, but guys, trouble is already heading their way. Bishop Pui has arrived, ranking just below the legendary Roland himself. Roland is delighted. Finally, their long-awaited reinforcements have arrived. The assistants say they can launch the massive offensive once everyone is gathered. There is absolutely no need to fear that terrifying Demon King anymore. Pui warns them not to exaggerate, claiming Roland is overreacting. How could a mere baby of a Demon King possess such immense power? The bishop notes that they initially backed the priest's plan to defeat him. But since the target turned out to be tough, maybe they made excuses. Perhaps this grand fairy tale was invented to cover up their initial failure. Pui mockingly asks if Roland can really be called humanity's last hope. Suddenly, an assistant rushes in with urgent news of an active emergency. A terrifying monster has just appeared in the south, triggering the alarms. They call it a dragon, though it is really just a mutated giant lizard. He reports that 8 full fortresses have already been completely destroyed. 4,000 players had been wiped out, along with 100 NPCs. Roland said he was already on his way, asking the church bishop to wait for him right there. Roland was determined to prove to Pui that he was incredibly foolish and arrogant. Roland hopped onto his speed bike while the assistant begged him to stay safe. The priest ordered the young assistant to monitor the Demon King while he was away. The young NPC was stunned. Was he actually expected to watch over the Demon King? Roland firmly reminded him that keeping tabs on every move was essential. Especially since the Devil Lord possessed such overwhelming power, the assistant asked what he should do, and the priest suggested asking endless questions to gather information. Roland handed over a mysterious package, instructing the young assistant to take it. This is our family's greatest sacred relic, the dragon claw of the holy Mayas. The assistant gasped. Was Roland genuinely willing to part with such a legendary treasure so easily? The priest patted his shoulder and said he believed the boy would succeed, urging him to do whatever it takes to stop the Demon King's dangerous schemes. Pui, quietly overhearing the whole conversation, felt incredibly disappointed. The ultimate hope of humanity had become just another mediocre side character from a cheap comic book. The young NPC waved goodbye, promising he understood his duty. Lord Roland had absolutely nothing to worry about. The assistant stood tall, determined to complete the task perfectly. Meanwhile, his coworker asked him if he was truly heading out right this second. The youth replied that this was a critical mission where no mistakes could be tolerated. Suddenly, a noise made him look up, spotting Bishop Pui stepping down the stairs. The bishop announced that he would be joining the boy on his journey. He wanted to witness firsthand just how terrifying this supposedly invincible Demon King really was. Pui wondered if the Dark Lord had already prepared some secret scheme to build a world-destroying army. If so, he had to see it. The assistant urged the bishop to keep his distance and stay completely safe. This only made the bishop furious. Was some low-level, mediocre NPC really trying to give him orders? Pui warned that the moment he got back to Heavenly City, he would expose just how incredibly irresponsible Roland had been by letting the dangerous Demon King claim an entire building for himself. At the gate, the assistant presented a lavish gift, begging the cat to take it. The bishop stood speechless. After all, this was the family's most sacred relic, the dragon claw of the holy Mayas, being casually handed over. Not to some ultimate boss, but to an unknown cat for pure amusement. Where did this chubby cat even come from? The assistant explained Roland sent him. Bao the cat tilted his head, claiming he had never heard of this. Did they even know each other? Pui suspected Roland had lost his mind. He had actually sacrificed a priceless family heirloom just to satisfy this useless animal which did nothing but eat, sleep, and lick its own fur. Bao decided to have a little chat with this weird bishop instead, sticking to the Demon Lord's master plan of quietly infiltrating humanity. The clever cat pulled the relic out and purred, calling it highly useful. It was perfect for scratching his back. The assistant was utterly speechless. Were they seriously using a holy relic as a back scratcher? Bao remarked that if, with nothing left to discuss, they could leave, but the young NPC quickly spoke up. He was not finished speaking yet, but Pui cut him off right there. Pui had heard enough and could not stand another second. Meanwhile, the bishop, using his divine magic, declared he would teach this arrogant creature a painful lesson. He wanted to show this cat humanity's absolute power, but the feline just wanted the young man to discuss it later. The NPC agreed to wait. Our fuzzy friend added that he had business to attend to, looking skyward. Suddenly, a massive dragon soared right overhead, catching Pui completely off guard. How was that even possible? The young man realized it was actually a mutant lizard. Pui wondered if Roland had already gone out to stop that exact beast. As the giant lizard flew across the sky, Roland chased it from the ground. The monster whipped its heavy tail to crush Roland, but the priest blocked it. He braced against the blow with his sword, barely managing to dodge and survive. Driven by duty, humanity's great hope kept pursuing the flying beast across the terrain. The dragon retreated, leaving Roland to swear that if they clashed again, he would destroy it. The beast probably realized it won, escaping directly toward safety. It had zero interest in fighting the strong, only in chasing down easy prey. Completely defenseless prey. Anxiously, the assistant asked the bishop what to do, and Pui wondered too. Still, Pui believed that even if Roland failed to stop the beast, there was no reason to worry since they were inside the safe zone. This was the perfect chance to test their automatic town defense system. The bishop gasped, staring at a giant heart-shaped structure made of ship hull. Lord Roland had forged this heart-shaped steel specifically to fight demons. But Pui suddenly spotted the massive dragon rapidly closing in on them. Things were looking bad, and the bishop realized if the defense failed. Without the steel tower, every low-level player here would be instantly wiped. In pure terror, Pui stared up at the oncoming doom. Watch closely, because the dragon unleashed a devastating blast upon the city. A massive energy beam came hurtling toward the ground at terrifying speed. But then the cat's eyes flared, and he countered with an even more. Talk about overpowered. The blast hit the dragon, instantly blowing it to pieces. Having saved the city, the feline vanished. Roland stopped his motorcycle, staring at the burning sky, while Pui and the assistant stood frozen. How could a level 84 mutant monster be completely obliterated in a single blow? It took mere seconds. Soon, the ashes of the beast scattered in the wind. Bo, feeling his job was done, casually lay down in his spot again. The cat turned to the young man, asking what they needed to discuss. But the NPC's mind went blank, and he forgot his entire speech. The bishop. Grateful that the dragon's attack had failed, Pui looked up to heaven. Deeply believing the gods were guarding them, the priest held out his sacred family cross, urging the powerful cat to accept it as a gift. This ancient relic had been handed down through many generations. Pui also offered his family's property deeds and lifetime savings, asking the guide why. He was just standing there, doing nothing instead of helping out as well. The cat happily snatched up all the offerings, claiming he would get the info faster. Still, he grumbled that as a guard cat, he was not obligated to know everything. The NPC then asked if Shia planned to stage a massacre in the safe zone. Or maybe he wanted to destroy the world, forcing people to desperately defend themselves. The NPC explained that he only asked so he could prepare himself mentally. Pui watched in utter disbelief. Did he really just ask that directly? The cat yawned, replying that the Demon King had no immediate plans to destroy anything. Mostly because he was completely broke and desperately needed cash. He told the guy to leave him alone if there were no more questions. Talk about a terrible deal. Pui was stunned. They wasted those offerings on one question. Either way, the NPC walked away, feeling entirely satisfied with the answer. His mission was accomplished. At least he didn't have to worry. He no longer feared the world ending anytime soon. Meanwhile, Shia headed home in great spirits. He spotted Bao Bao lounging around and asked the cat why he was lying there. The kitty immediately climbed onto his master's shoulder, settled in, and began to purr. Shia smiled, telling the clingy pet that he had missed him as well. As they walked inside together, something caught his eye near the litter box. Shia looked closer and realized the cat had done his business on the floor. Furious, he grabbed Bao Bao by the scruff of his furry neck. He scolded the cat, saying he had warned him about this countless times. He immediately tossed the bad kitty right out the front door. Ordering him to sleep in the hallway tonight, Shia finally entered his bedroom. To his absolute shock, Belar was waiting inside, claiming she had made his bed. Shia changed into his pajamas and slipped under the covers, with Belar lying right beside him. He stared at the demon girl in sheer panic. This was a massive problem. Sleeping like this would ruin his test. He felt a very awkward tension. Seeing his struggle, the girl nodded, saying she understood the situation completely. She instantly transformed, shrinking her entire body down to the size of a tiny egg. She asked if this tiny size was acceptable, and Shia quickly nodded in agreement. They wished each other good night. Bao Bao slept outside in the hallway. The next morning, the poor cat was curled up by the door, soaked in his own tears. Shia woke up and looked over at the little demon sleeping soundly on his pillow. He couldn't help but notice how incredibly beautiful she looked while resting. He immediately shook his head, feeling highly embarrassed by such thoughts. Just then, a small notebook hidden under her pillow caught his attention. He picked it up and quickly realized it was her private diary. It was wild that even game pets could keep a journal like this. It wasn't that he wanted to snoop, but his hands simply moved on their own. The entries were all written for the Demon King, filled with Belar's deepest emotions. It was incredibly touching, showing just how deeply attached she was to him. After reading through it, Shia carefully slipped the diary back under the pillow. Reading those sweet words almost made him forget she was actually a powerful archdemon. He quickly got out of bed and headed to the door, feeling incredibly guilty. But Belar was actually wide awake, silently watching him slip out of the room. Turns out she deliberately left her diary right where he would find it. Demon King would see it. Belar thought she was too shy, so the demoness poured her love and courage into this diary, secrets she could never express to him directly. Belar believed this was true, pure happiness. The next night arrived, and standing at the threshold of the room where Bao Bao had spent the night was Bale. As he slept, Zia gently stroked Bao Bao on the pillow, with the young man whispering that this little cat was definitely the absolute best. Belar couldn't understand how this happened, while Shin H-san told the girls that since their ranks climbed, their combat powers had indeed improved. Master Zia hadn't just healed them, he also boosted their overall skill levels. Luja remarked they were definitely trying hard to please this demon. Hajian replied that while true, the most important thing was choosing the right side, adding that they would definitely win anyway. Luja understood they would have to continue following the Demon King's bidding. Obara suddenly warned that someone was approaching. Lua instantly activated her enhanced vision skill, Eagle Eye. The archer saw a young demon arriving with an incredibly high level, none other than Babylon, one of the 7 Demon Kings, who realized that all earthly forces had been fully mobilized, yet nobody could locate the missing Demon King. Standing idly was impossible, as his disappearance was directly linked to Roland, meaning he had to be captured and interrogated. Lua surmised that the demoness was heading for the safe zone, looking for the Demon King. Hajian speculated she was an ally of the Demon King, and the group leader saw an opportunity to strengthen their ties by greeting her. As Babylon descended lower and lower, she spotted a small group gathered on the roof of a ruined building. The demoness assumed these players had set up an ambush the moment they found out she was flying by, but she was shocked by their levels. Only 3 days had passed, and the leader was already level 24. Babylon decided to eliminate these players before they could ever cause any major, uncontrollable disaster. Hajian asked in a friendly tone if the demoness was seeking Zia. Babylon didn't answer, delivering a devastating blow that sent the man flying. Luja was outraged seeing Babylon land on the platform next to them, while Obara stared suspiciously at the hostile demoness. Babylon moved in close to the archer, staring intently at her with glowing eyes. Lua wanted to explain, but the demoness instantly struck her down too. Obara saw her friend fly backward from the massive damage. Obara immediately began casting a unique degree healing. Babylon asked the girl if she wanted to help, but Babylon suddenly couldn't attack. Something was blocking her strike, and the source was Leu, a mysterious killer whose level was undetectable. Babylon was stunned. How was this possible? Could an assassin even use a shield? Even if it were a normal shield, how could it stop her strike? Believe it or not, instead of a shield, Leu was holding a chicken in her hands, which somehow turned out to be an indispensable weapon. Hajian quickly downed a healing potion, fully restoring his health. He told Lei to hurry up. Lei instantly retaliated against the demoness, and Lu passionately declared she would fight for Xia, devoting every single bit of her soul. She even proudly claimed to be the ultimate treasure of this world. A heavy, crushing blow slammed into Babylon, sealing their victory. Lu struck again, calling this the ultimate chicken that brings victory, the glorious Excalibur chicken. Obara was completely shocked. Up close, it just looked like normal food. Yet somehow it could easily face a level 100 and first demon. Holding the small chicken close, Lu felt a sudden wave of joy. She knew Master Xia must have sensed her danger and personally sent her this incredible treasure. Hearing this, Hajian flew into a massive rage. They were clearly on the enemy's side. Just that single phrase confirmed all of his worst fears. Babylon growled about her own utter carelessness. How could a low-level player beat her? How could someone under level 30 possibly be stronger than her? She screamed in absolute fury, refusing to let things end here, demanding the Demon King. Hajian was terrified. The angry demonist was already transforming. She was entering her second stage, and Shinhin warned they had to calm her. Otherwise, talking would be impossible. Obara frantically asked what they should do. Shinhin stepped forward, yelling that they knew his location. Meanwhile, back at Belar's house, she was happily scratching little Bao Bao on his belly. Suddenly, a massive crash shook the air, drawing her attention far away. She turned and saw the distant aftermath of a massive city explosion. Who could it be? The faint silhouette in the sky felt incredibly familiar. Yet she couldn't remember. Bao Bao squeaked that it looked like a movie scene. Back at the ruins, Hajian repeated again that they knew the Demon King's location. The transformed Babylon paused, wondering if these humans were actually telling the truth. Hajian nudged Obara, telling him to stop being quiet and back him up. Obara spoke up, and yes, he actually claimed the Demon King was in the safe zone. He had disguised himself as a novice player and even hired them for a job. This supposed monster had shown them nothing but kindness and offered a helping hand. His bandages were so powerful, they boosted their stats by 5 levels instantly. Charmed by his generosity, they decided to serve him to repay his kindness. Babylon listened silently, but her inner demon roared that this was a lie. They needed a far better story because nobody would believe this nonsense. Hajian screamed that they had solid proof, and Shinhin quickly backed him up. He pulled out a keepsake photo taken together with the Demon King himself. Babylon narrowed her eyes, carefully inspecting the sudden piece of physical evidence. The demon compared the souvenir photo with the drawing Belar had made earlier. Instantly, Babylon flew into a blind rage, screaming that the demon looked totally different. These pests were lying, and she absolutely hated being deceived. She triggered her third stage transformation, roaring that she would grind them to dust. Hajian realized their desperate negotiations had completely failed, leaving them in deep trouble. He begged Lu to stop the demonist, but she tearfully replied that her gift was useless. Could it be that Master Xia's incredible gift was strictly a one-time use item? Right then, a sudden system alert announced that Lu had disconnected from the game. Speeding up, Babylon launched a deadly charge. Hajian screamed that they were finished. But right at that moment, Belar arrived with little Bao Bao riding on her shoulder. The cat announced they had finally caught up, and Belar added that friendly forces had arrived. She urgently pleaded with the transformed demon, begging her to stop immediately. Otherwise, any clash here would completely ruin the Demon King's master plan. Bao confirmed that the Demon King was currently disguised as a human, hiding away. He was hiding in the city, scheming a far more complex plan, while the cat stepped forward. Bao demanded she end this aggressive display so he could take her straight to their king. But Babylon ignored him, relentlessly launching attacks at the players. Seeing this, Obara screamed that the demon had lost her mind, questioning all this sudden aggression. Bao was equally confused, wondering why they could not just negotiate peacefully. But Babylon refused, forcing Bao to step in and subdue her. Unleashing a devastating counterattack, the mighty cat slammed right into the rogue demon. She took heavy damage, yet far from this chaos, Shia felt completely at peace. As he relaxed, a sudden cool breeze brushed gently against his face. The young man smiled, confident today would be another perfectly calm, peaceful day. Back at the battle, Belar asked Babylon if she was finally ready to listen. But Babylon had no idea what they were saying, completely unable to understand them. To her, the cat's explanations sounded like absolute gibberish. Her powerful transformation vanished, leaving her health depleted, as Bao quickly apologized. He had simply forgotten to switch languages after talking to his master earlier. He turned to Belar, asking why she had not bothered to remind him. Belar admitted she forgot, having been way too focused on acting like a horse. She confessed she had not realized such small details were even worth worrying about. Babylon looked up in pure shock, completely stunned by the realization. She wondered if Belar was truly alive, urging her to join hands immediately. Together they could rescue the Demon King and totally obliterate this safe zone. Hearing this, Bao grew furious, growling that she must have a death wish. Obara let out a sigh of relief, thrilled that everyone was still alive. Heijin laughed it off as a false alarm, while Luju admitted she almost wrote her will. With the immediate danger gone, the shaken players began arguing among themselves. Pointing fingers back and forth, Luju mentioned she had been watching from afar. At first glance, the chubby cat looked just like a spoiled house pet. But in reality, he was a terrifying beast capable of crushing elite boss monsters. He easily obliterated a level 101 boss, making Babylon nod in quiet understanding. Heijin agreed, admitting that the tiny creature wielded an absurd amount of power. The girls nodded in agreement, knowing they had only survived because of Shia. Obara warmly agreed, though Luju could not help but lament over her ruined gift. Meanwhile, Shia arrived home, only to find the house completely empty. Both Belar and Bao were gone, causing him to worry in these dangerous times. Just as he wondered if they were okay, a loud ring echoed from his door. Peering through the security monitor, he saw Heijin standing outside with his squad. Recognizing the exact players who had explored the dungeon with him, he smiled. Shia breathed a sigh of relief, thanking the players for bringing his pets back. Heijin waved his hands, saying they merely crossed paths by chance on the way. In truth, Obara knew it was actually the cat and Belar who rescued them. Grateful for their help, Shia firmly shook Heijin's hand, cementing a brand new alliance. Hajin was thrilled. Shia urged them to hurry inside. Hajin mentioned that they had brought along a small gift for him. He figured it was a tiny pet the Demon King would surely love. Shia was taken aback because he already had 2 small pets. Hajin held a miniature Babylon, adding another demon to the growing collection. Babylon was overjoyed, thrilled to finally lay eyes on the Demon King. Recalling Belar's diary, Shia asked why they brought him yet another pet. He lacked the capacity to care for her, suggesting the players keep her. This left Babylon completely devastated. Had she really just been rejected? What was she supposed to do now? Did she not deserve this spot? She knew she had to do whatever it took to stay here. Desperate, Babylon handed over the great demon's horns to the protagonist. She eagerly explained that her fast metabolism let her regrow them daily. And just like that, Babylon joined them. Shia then invited the players inside to rest up for a while. This new companion brings in 12 gold coins daily, while Shia apologized for his messy place. He mentioned his house was quite messy, but told them not to mind. Stepping inside, Hajin suddenly clutched his chest, prompting Bar to ask what was wrong. Shia was genuinely surprised. Could something in this ordinary room actually scare them? He explained they were basic starter weapons. They were just things he forged while practicing his blacksmithing skills. Hajin looked around, spotting beginner gear mounted all over the walls. But they looked completely top-notch, alongside some sturdy armor standing nearby. Xia quickly clarified that the armor and handmade dolls were also beginner projects. Hajin was incredibly impressed, admitting that everything actually looked remarkably cute. Yinhon decided this was not just a house, seriously, it is a straight-up armory. Xia explained that he originally planned to sell his creations at the market. But selling such gear for cheap felt like a complete waste of effort. So he kept them. He told the players they could take whatever they wanted. However, they were restricted to the low-level gear for now. The high-tier weapons would be sold later. Hajin was absolutely stunned. This guy served insane food, so forging god-tier gear made total sense. Xia humbly insisted that actual monster drops were way more valuable than this. Actual quest rewards would be far better. Still, Hajin sat on the sofa, instantly wondering if this was magical too. Xia told them to relax, as he had hand-picked the sofa himself. There was no need to worry, it was meant for his guests. As Hajin settled in, he realized it was not just the sofa. Literally everything here, the walls, ceiling, and tables, radiated sheer magical power. Xia asked Belar to serve them tea, and Hajin stared at the cups. The tea water itself literally overflowed with pure, dense magical energy. Xia casually explained that he dug a backyard well to save water. Little did they know, this water was drawn from a literal well of eternity. Hajin stood completely speechless, absolutely amazed. All of this combined with his first impressions only confirmed his firm conviction. Could this entire house have transformed into a massive magical weapon, the guild leader? Everything clicked, he finally realized the truth, there was no doubt left. Creating items like this only takes 3 days, they had to join his army to survive in this harsh world. Xia offered his guests some tea to enjoy. No hesitation, without waiting for another invitation, they began drinking together. The protagonist suddenly mentioned a massive battle raging near the safe zone. Xia quietly nodded, confirming that was exactly where they picked up Babylon. Heijin panicked, he was utterly terrified of what they might have done. He feared the demon lord's punishment, but Xia just kept describing the battle. A massive clash had occurred there, which the guild leader never expected either. He was terrified. Heijin realized this monster could destroy him in an instant. He could wipe him out instantly. Xia just smiled, glad everything ended well. The players had survived the ordeal, and now they could finally relax in peace. Heijin nodded quickly, claiming they came straight to his mansion without wasting time. Xia welcomed them, while Heijin secretly prayed to survive the demon lord's trial. He assumed Xia had forgiven their past actions, which felt like a miracle. This was perfect. The generous host then poured more tea for his guests. Nobody dared refuse. Xia turned to Alu, asking how much roast chicken she ate. Alu froze in fear, thinking Master Xia definitely knew she used her skill. She softly admitted it, but Xia just laughed, saying he had plenty left. He happily offered to share, gifting Alu 20 legendary roast chickens. The players gasped as the massive food delivery hit their inventory screens. Alu stared in awe, knowing that food item was an incredibly rare treasure. Yet Xia casually handed out 20 of them. Alu bowed deeply in gratitude. She promised never to let Xia down. Killer looked at her silent teammates. She knew they would all stay loyal too. She had to do her best. Hen knew that even in tough spots, they had to adapt. As long as the powerful Demon King stayed kind to them, they were safe. If nothing crazy happened, they could easily ride this out to the end. They would definitely stay on the winning side of this virtual game. Suddenly the doorbell echoed. The high priest, Roland, was standing right outside the door. He heard about the crisis and came to help, but Xia was stunned. What was Roland doing here? The priest calmly repeated his reason for visiting. He held a small travel bag, politely asking if Xia was doing all right. He was ready to arrange any assistance, but then Roland spotted something strange. He saw two tiny female demons hiding inside the host's travel bag. The priest gasped. Babylon was supposed to be dead, yet here she was. This was incredibly suspicious. Could this entire building actually have transformed into a massive weapon? Not gonna lie, Shia is preparing for ultimate war. The entire quest had become the Demon King's private fortress of doom. Roland panicked, wondering what they did to offend this powerful, godlike entity. He had to stay calm, shocked to find the dungeon-clearing team here. Why were they at the Demon King's house? Hyojin was equally confused. He wondered what the priest wanted. Roland thought they came to fight him. Did they notice his chaotic power? Roland quickly gave the players a wink. He gave the squad leader a nod of approval, proposing they team up to stop the Demon King from destroying everything. Hyojin immediately got a terrible feeling. Shia looked over at Roland and asked if these two groups actually knew each other. The priest admitted they were acquainted. Hyojin shot him a deeply suspicious glare. Shia calmly noted that these were the very players who had ended that massive battle. Surviving that must have been brutal. Roland instantly suspected the Demon King was mocking them on purpose. He casually replied that casualties are inevitable in war. Shia told the priest he found this world rather amusing and preferred it intact. But claiming he was powerless, he dumped all the responsibility onto Roland. The priest quickly realized what was actually going on here. The Demon King was simply bored and looking for a distraction. Roland confidently announced that he had a plan. If Lord Shia wanted entertainment, the elves could easily satisfy that curiosity. Shia looked genuinely surprised, asking if elves even existed here. Roland explained there was a completely hidden zone, an ancient, forgotten elven kingdom. Shia admitted he was highly intrigued and wanted to see it himself. Roland seized the moment, boldly declaring that he would go capture an elf. Talk about a wild move. Shia was confused, while Hyojin watched in utter shock at how submissively the supposed hope of humanity was acting right now. Shia smiled, pleased that Roland held him in such high regard, even though he claimed to be nothing but a helpless, low-level novice. Shia added that securing humanity's future required facing everything with absolute optimism. Hearing this, both Roland and Shia simultaneously turned their heads toward Hyojin, silently acknowledging that he was currently their strongest active player. The team leader quickly stammered that Shia had completely misunderstood his connection to Roland, but the priest cut in, praising Shia for seeing right through them. They had indeed formed a tight partnership with the top squad. Hyojin realized this holy priest was shamelessly using him as a shield. Roland added that since Shia knew the truth, there was no reason to hide it. He promised to be entirely upfront. This squad would accompany him to find the elves, working in perfect harmony to achieve their shared objectives. Demon King smiled and remarked that Roland and this team truly deserved each other. A bit later, they wrapped up their meeting, and Roland announced they were taking their leave. Shia bid them goodbye, leaving Hyojin completely frustrated. Roland had no idea why the squad leader was so incredibly annoyed, chalking it up to the sheer malice and arrogance of the Demon King. He told Hyojin to stay calm now that Shia knew of their alliance. They just had to track down that elf. Hyojin completely snapped and slammed his fist into the wall right beside the priest's head. Roland stared at the cracked wall. Hyojin smirked, asking if the kid did that on purpose. Roland was baffled. What did kid even mean? No one had ever called him that before. He couldn't grasp where Hyojin had suddenly found the nerve to speak to him like that. The squad leader replied that he was about to prove exactly how brave he could be. Suddenly, a whole roasted chicken materialized right in Hyojin's hands. Roland blinked, asking what that was. Hyojin proudly smirked, asking if the priest was impressed. Roland politely thanked him but declined, stating he wasn't hungry. Just then, Lu intervened. She hesitates, then she admits to the commander she wanted no part of this. But his sheer stupidity, it is just too much to stay quiet. Shut up, Hajin warns her, but Hajin believes a fight is pointless. Starting a fight now is too risky, it might ruin the demon. King and his plot, Roland has no clue why the leader is upset. In his eyes, cooperating with the hope of humanity is a massive honor. He reminds them of the goal: open the gate and capture the elf. Deliver him to the demon king, that is the only way to save Earth. Hajin laughs, he notes those words sound like they came from an honest man. Obara lanes in, reminding the leader of their time inside the demon palace. When Jia urged cooperation, Luga speculates there is a deeper reason. Jia always has massive plans, strategies way beyond what their minds can grasp. Hajin sighs, he realizes the archer did not even spare herself here. It is true, every move the Demon King makes dictates the fate of the world. Can they even defeat him? Seriously, though, Roland asks the squad leader if they can finally work as a team now. No one should provoke the Demon King, but running away is temporary. The priest smiles, he believes the potential of these players is limitless. Absolutely limitless, making them the ultimate team worthy of intense training together. By cooperating, they can unlock massive rewards far beyond their current tier. Roland adds pressure. This proposal should be a huge temptation for the commander. And it works. Hajin finally agrees to the deal, nodding slowly. No handshakes, though. The commander turns to leave, rejecting the gesture immediately. He is worried Jia might misunderstand. Meanwhile, our clever protagonist watches everything from the window. It seems Roland and the players are friends now. Jia planned this. He had to bring Roland and the human squad together. Without Roland, they would have no guide when things inevitably go wrong. If things go sideways, they will need backup. Honestly, Jia thinks he is a total genius. His pets watch him in silence. Bao has no idea what is happening, but still respects his brilliant mind. Back with the players, Hajin acts. He draws his blade. Did Roland mention this place? The priest nods yes. It is uncharted territory. The ancient land of the elves is forbidden. And yet, Roland and the players are determined to infiltrate it anyway. Roland has no idea what lies behind those heavy gates, but still. One thing is certain, the monsters waiting inside are incredibly high level. Their power scales way past the current version, even dwarfing the invaders on Earth. The invasion has begun. Elves, humans, and demons. Historically, these three parallel races once shared the world. The priest explains the lore. Originally, many distinct species coexisted here. This crucial backstory is briefly mentioned in the main storyline. Hajin laughs. He skipped all the dialogue just to level up faster. He had to, otherwise, how could his team dominate the leaderboard? Human skills and technologies actually originate from the mysterious Dared Morsi. They borrowed divine power to hold back the brutal, incoming demon hordes. For decades, the entire world remained trapped in an endless cycle of war. Back then, any race unable to compete with humans and demons for resources simply vanished. They perished unable to survive. Yet another powerful race was still out there. A race fully capable of rivaling both humanity and demonkind, the nature-wielding elves. They possessed an incredible force, one capable of completely shifting the balance of power. But their princess had no intention of submitting to either of the warring factions. By sacrificing her own strength, she sealed her people away, hidden from the world. Since then, they became mere legends. Now, Roland leads his group to a mysterious spot. He explains that elves once lived behind this massive door, though their survival remains uncertain. This sacred, ancient land is a strictly restricted zone, and players are heavily warned. Han notices that the system warnings are literally filling up the entire screen. They spill way past the dialogue boxes. Just what level is Roland at anyway? Why doesn't he just send them straight to heaven? The priest replies that pleasing the Demon King makes any risk fully worth taking to prevent a surprise defeat. He brought along every single one of his family treasures. Hyojin grumbles, why is his only job carrying all this gear? Eager to please the Demon King, this supposed hope of humanity prepped dark gear. Armed with cursed gear, he leads them into the forbidden zone. Roland boasts they have only seen a tiny fraction of his power. He promises to handle all fighting, no need to worry. Haozan agrees completely, they have absolutely nothing to stress about. The priest promises them gear, tons of experience, rare loot. The squad leader smiles, admitting he is highly looking forward to the rewards. The priest smugly assumes his followers finally realize the power of his support. Roland promises to train them up, keeping the squad safe from harm. But with danger ahead, they must conserve their resources and avoid battles. Then a system warning flashes, right before them. Combat has begun as a dangerous rank, a monster spots their location. Roland is shocked they were found so fast, but Obara quickly warns everyone that she just accidentally stepped on a hidden trap, the beast. Booms, warning the foolish humans not to disrupt the elves' peaceful. Slumber, the threat, is a bloodthirsty monster shaped like a giant owl. The creature commands the intruders to turn around and leave immediately. Refuse and they will face total destruction, which leaves Obara absolutely terrified. She repeatedly apologizes for her massive mistake, but Roland steps up too. Tell the players to stand back and let him handle things. They obediently retreat, leaving Roland feeling a sudden, strange sting of disappointment. Did they really abandon him, just like that, shaking it off? The priest pulls out an S-class hellish breakthrough module. The party watches in absolute shock as the priest totally obliterates the massive boss. Hajashin and his allies cannot comprehend why their savior uses demonic gear. Obara hesitates, wondering if she should jump in to help. Instead, the girl is baffled by what Hsen and Luju are doing. The commander calmly replies that they are taking a break, shocking Obara. He says it so naturally. Meanwhile, Roland activates a powerful combat buff and charges the owl beast, but his skill buff quickly wears off. The sword-wielding priest charged straight at the owl monster, making it shriek in fury. Now it was the beast's turn to strike, raising its massive weapon high overhead. Ober screamed in sheer terror, realizing that if they did not save Roland, he would surely die, but as the dusk cleared, a silhouette appeared. Standing in front of Roland was Hajan, whom the priest begged to run. This monster was too strong, yet their squad leader stood holding a roasted chicken. Roland was completely baffled. Why had Hajan pulled out a roasted chicken? Without a single word, Hajan charged forward, weaponizing the chicken in his hands. Roland stared in absolute disbelief. Was Hajan really trying to fight? Or was he trying to bribe the boss? Hajan needed to retreat immediately. Seriously, did he actually think a terrifying monster would just fall for grilled chicken? Even the owl monster was confused by this level 26 weakling. But Hajan was actually using the chicken to trigger a massive attack boost. One clean, precise slash, and the massive beast was sliced in half. Roland could not comprehend this. The girls, however, were absolutely thrilled. In their leader's hands was a legendary weapon gifted by the Demon King. Though looking plain, its power was immense. Roland shouted to Hajan that if he had such a weapon, he should have used it sooner. Hajan dryly reminded him that the priest told him to step back. Roland realized that Hajan was indeed prepared. Still, Roland claimed that if he were healthy, he could have crushed the beast himself, confident in his own defensive skills. Now the priest wanted to inspect the loot, specifically pointing out a valuable runic bandage that he believed should rightfully belong to the party. The group excitedly argued over who would get the honor of opening it. Meanwhile, Hajan had to admit that the rewards were pretty generous. This gold alone would guarantee them early financial security, plus the rare ore would be vital for upgrading gear later. But to Hajan, all of this loot was absolutely nothing compared to the overpowered roast chicken he had received directly from the Demon King. He figured using up his chicken was a slight loss, but at least they got something out of it. Roland had to admit Hagen's weapon was exceptionally strong, but where did he get it? Could the Demon King have actually handed it over? Ober quickly lied, explaining that during their adventures they had stumbled upon a rare chest with just some spare change. They pulled this god-tier gear. Lu eagerly jumped in, claiming they now possessed an item that could easily vaporize a level 100 beast. Seriously, only an absolute idiot would believe that story. Roland knew it. They were definitely hiding something, and Lu braced herself for a potential confrontation. The priest glared suspiciously, but then sighed and told them to divide everything. Equally, he decided to scout ahead, leaving Lu surprised that he actually bought their flimsy excuse. Hagen quietly noted that Roland had actually helped them out. He added that it really was not smart of the Demon King to give them such an incredibly broken weapon. Maybe the Demon King truly wanted to capture an elf, which was why he provided armaments capable of easily wiping out these dungeon monsters, keeping the entire territory well within his own calculations. Roland already understood they had no chance of winning on their own. Luju nodded in agreement, and the group finally realized what was at stake. They had to find the elves and let Master Xia test their sincerity. Obara quietly watched the conversation between the commander and the archer. To her, the unfolding drama was turning out to be pretty interesting. Suddenly, a level 108 demon guardian blocked their way, warning them of complete destruction if they dared to take another step. The monster charged, unleashing a brutal attack that sent them all flying. Roland quickly activated a space distortion module to disorient the giant beast. While Hagen ate a roasted chicken buff, their leader unleashed his skills. This allowed him to deal massive damage, fighting in perfect sync with Roland. They struck together with a final blow, leaving the boss near death. With under 1% health remaining, the beast reeled in pure disbelief. The defeated boss immediately submitted a formal complaint to the system. The system accepted the report, investigated, and actually confirmed the violation. As a result, the party lost 4 reputation points as punishment. That officially closed the case, but the Guardian was still doomed. The level 108 beast died from sheer rage and defeat. Roland pointed out that the legendary Elven Throne was just up ahead. If any elves survived, they would definitely find clues waiting inside. But the ancient race had sealed themselves away to protect their legendary treasures. Because of this, Roland warned that unforeseen, deadly dangers lay ahead. The priest quickly agreed, advising everyone to proceed carefully and avoid traps. Suddenly, a system alert popped up, indicating they were back in combat. Roland urged them to show some real professionalism this time. To avoid triggering hidden traps, Obara flatly refused to go forward alone. She insisted she wasn't to blame when a massive monster appeared. The enraged creature roared, demanding to know who dared disturb the elves. It assumed these foolish intruders had to be completely tired of living. The beast issued one final warning: leave and never return. If they turned back now, he promised to spare their miserable lives. But if they refused, their own ignorance would seal their doom. Hearing this dramatic threat, Hagen remarked that this sounded like an old game. Honestly, the entire setup felt like some kind of cheap plagiarism. Roland agreed, noting he got the exact same vibe from it. The monster suddenly paused, asking for a moment to rethink his lines. She looked through a list of classic villain lines to find them. The demonist felt highly embarrassed at getting caught, as the throne room illusions finally shattered. The party shared their earned experience, and Hagen received a 3D projector. Roland confirmed the teleporter was active, signaling the first task was complete. With the preliminary quest cleared, they stood before the true throne room. Hagen remarked that the low difficulty made it feel like a silly minigame. The demonist trapped inside the jar revealed she was just a projection. Her legendary mistress was the most powerful elf in this fallen kingdom. But after the princess's tragic sacrifice, their once great kingdom completely collapsed. And everyone perished. She was the sole survivor. With her power, she protected the kingdom for 1,000 years as the strongest elf, while she stood guard. No one could steal the ancient legacy. Roland was stunned. Was the demonist actually claiming her mistress was an elf? Hoenn noted it was pretty obvious, and they did not even have to search. The demonist muttered that these guys were totally weird. The legendary elf died from eating a random forest mushroom. But the demonist kept that embarrassing detail to herself. This elf was the ruler of the Elven Kingdom, the strongest boss around, furious. Mars in S-Class level 101 soul. The players were shocked. Why a soul? Aura wondered if she had already died. Hagen grumbled that the Demon King sent them on a wild goose chase, but Roland insisted this was impossible, barring any outside forces. Elves are immortal. Roland pointed out that the protective illusions here were only broken when they arrived. The pristine throne room had zero signs of a struggle, ruling out any attack. Hoenn suggested it might have been suicide. Roland admitted that was quite a bold theory. He gestured to the body off to the side. Could this really be the legendary elven ruler? Now the pieces were finally falling into place. She guarded these ruins alone for millennia. Over the ages, absolute loneliness consumed her until she lost her mind. Her soul began brewing dark thoughts, while her pure physical body and good thoughts drifted into a deep sleep. Roland figured they had to defeat her dark side to clear this dungeon. The captured demonist in her jar was absolutely loving his ridiculous confidence. The guy had not gotten a single detail right, and besides that body was just a pile of bones. Roland asked if his deduction was spot on. The captive quickly played along, praising his flawless logic and brilliant mind. Roland pressed on, noting she looked far different from standard A-rank threats. Her S-rank power meant she would not be easy to defeat. Hagen warned that his gear was completely ruined, but Roland pulled out a mysterious item, claiming this strategy was their absolute last resort. He originally brought this trump card to ambush the Demon King. Suddenly, the Elven Queen spoke. Intruder blood would be spilled to appease her wrath. But she froze when she spotted a strange trap on the floor. A brilliant light flashed. She immediately readied her blade, bracing for impact. She prepared to deflect the strike, while Hoenn asked what this was. Roland explained he originally meant to use this family treasure on the Demon King. It was an S-rank trap, but someone had to step on it. This trap drew strength from 4 demons to unleash a highly destructive plague. The only drawback was the agonizing, inescapable pain it caused. Hoenn was shocked. How could anyone pass down such a terrifying item? Through their family line, the priest simply explained that his ancestors had hunted demons for generations, gathering lethal relics along the way. The demonist muttered that collecting and actually using them were different things. Hoenn wondered why he felt so uneasy. Meanwhile, the Elven Queen felt utterly helpless. She could not withstand the burning plague and raw agony. Roland smiled. That meant she was secured. The priest calmly put on his gas mask and Roland surges his power, activating his legendary breakthrough skill. On screen, the Elven Queen gasps in shock. Is this high-level non-player character even human? She adds that his actions are outrageous, leading players to bully elves with underhanded tactics. This underhanded move catches Han completely off guard. He never expected such raw power. He completely underestimated humanity's ultimate hope. The caged demonist recalls hearing about this hope, mentioning a voice that recently delivered a prophecy. When the two worlds collide, a champion will rise to lead humanity and destroy the demons, defeating the Demon King himself. But looking at Roland, the demonist stares in disbelief. Is this guy really our savior? He mutters that if Roland is indeed the chosen one, they should just give up hope. Still, the Elf Queen warns that her 1,000-year-old will cannot be underestimated. The intense standoff between them continues as both sides refuse to yield. But suddenly, Roland wonders if his trap's duration has finally run out. What a waste, he was so incredibly close to finishing her off. The queen vows she will never let this monster take the child they protected. However, she completely forgot one minor detail: she has been poisoned by mushrooms. And just like that, the epic duel abruptly ends. It was all just a massive illusion. Han praises Roland for a job well done, but the priest tells him to skip the flattery so they can examine her body. The demonist is disgusted. After defeating a queen, he only cares about looting corpses. Is this creepy priest really supposed to be our ultimate savior? Suddenly, the soul clone vanishes in despair. Roland notes that this is extremely strange. There is no drop reward, and the body disappeared completely. The priest adds, this is not what he expected. Maybe they triggered the boss fight incorrectly. Han asks if Roland is finally realizing that his playstyle is completely wrong. The priest replies that if all else fails, they must deliver this skeleton to the Demon King, which absolutely terrifies Han because he definitely does not want that. Suddenly, a mechanism triggers. The party panics. Is this a sudden earthquake? Han guesses that Roland's evil actions have finally angered the ancient ruined spirits. The leader warns that moving the sacred skeleton broke the ancient seal, especially since the priest already carried it on his back. This seal was a divine barrier, and now it shatters. A beautiful elven maiden suddenly materializes, crying out desperately for her beloved sister. Mars, this is Princess Sheer, waking up after 1,000 years of deep slumber. She weeps, unable to feel her sister's presence, wondering where she went. Then she spots the group, and on Roland's shoulder, the skeletal remains of her beloved Mars. Overwhelmed with grief, the newly awakened princess instantly falls back into a deep sleep before completely shattering into tiny pieces. Han notes, they finally found a real elf, only for her to instantly break. Roland suggests they can probably just glue her back together to revive her. Roland decides to fetch some glue, but insists they must strip her clothes first. Suddenly, a blinding radiance erupts as a massive pillar of light connects heaven and earth. In front of them lies Sheer's completely charred body. Han asks what their next move is, and Roland says they can finally head home. Down to the bones, Lu saw this as an absolute disaster. How could she possibly face the great Demon King after such a mess? She was ready to take out the squad leader just to protect the Demon King's peace. Then, Lu pointed out that searching the ruins for survivors had to be their very first priority. As the players headed out, a strange glint in the elf's charred remains caught their eye. The priest Roland stepped closer, spotting a mysterious glowing crystal embedded in the flesh. Could this be the legendary lost treasure of the elves, the mythical stone of wisdom? This meant the princess had triggered that massive blast specifically to destroy this artifact. It was the very thing her ancestors had desperately sealed away 1,000 years ago. Roland realized it. This single artifact possessed the power to reshape the entire world. It held everything: the ancient knowledge and forbidden methods to control all elven magic. Secrets that their entire race had closely guarded for literally millions of years. Hajin scoffed. In other words, taking it meant inheriting their whole legacy. It was an incredible third force, fully capable of rivaling both gods and demons. Holding it, Roland declared that he no longer had to fear the Demon King. Finally, he could wipe away every single drop of humiliation he had recently suffered. Han spoke up, asking if the priest actually planned to keep this from the Demon King. Roland scoffed, telling Han that he was getting far too caught up in their act. They had only played along with the Demon King to keep him off guard. It was a stalling tactic to buy time, but now everything had changed. This artifact gave them a real shot at destroying him. They could never hand it over. Hajin burst out laughing, admitting that the whole puzzle had finally clicked for him. He now saw exactly why the Demon King had ordered him to accompany Roland's search. Under the assumption that Zia just wanted an elven captive, the leader was stunned. He never expected the mastermind to have anticipated this entire turn of events. There was absolutely no doubt about it. The Demon King knew from the start. He had known all along that the Stone of Wisdom was resting in these ruins. Roland was stunned. How could the Demon King possibly know they could never control it? Knowing humans could not wield elven power, he had sent his own lackeys along. Tasked with shadowing the priest, they had to secure the prize for their master. They truly were his trusted hands. Still, Roland regretted having to break his word. But giving up an item of this immense scale was simply out of the question. The priest insisted that he had to transport this powerful relic directly to Sky City. With this in their hands, humanity would finally find the courage to fight back. It was their golden chance to avenge all the suffering they had silently endured. Roland stared down at the glowing core crystal resting safely in his open palm. Then, looking down at the empty corpse, he demanded to know what Hagen had done. Hagen offered a cheeky apology, hoping the great savior of humanity would not be angry. Han smirked, explaining that it was merely a simple sleight of hand rogue trick. The squad leader had swapped the items instantly. Roland sneered, asking if they were serious. Did they honestly think they could stand a chance and win against him? Hagen admitted that in a normal fight, winning was completely impossible. But if they resorted to cheap, brute force, things might end differently. Lu immediately unleashed her skill, firing 1,000 spectral shots in unison. Combining the devastating attack with a roasted chicken boost, she assumed her combat stance. He went into an attack stance, sending the chickens flying straight toward Roland. Roland activated his S-rank Divine Shield, utterly baffled by what he saw. Was that magical fried chicken really back? Hagen had said it was all gone. The warrior admitted he really had used his last chicken. Roland realized something else. They had kept a backup plan from the very start. After that chicken blast, he had only half his health remaining. Instantly, Roland went on a counteroffensive. He unleashed his unique skills: Free Blessing, Lord's Blessing, and Holy Light. Obara screamed that she would hold the priest back, while everyone else fled. Roland lunged forward with his blade. Hagen barely blocked the strike by. Holding up a whole roasted chicken, the impact was so massive that an explosion tore through the air, and the shockwaves sent their leader flying backward. Talk about painful. Hagen lost a pretty massive chunk of his health. He realized they could use the chicken as a shield to attack the priest. But in a direct clash, the level difference was still way too big. Hagen was incredibly frustrated because Obara had promised she would stop him. Had she actually managed to delay the priest for even a split second? She replied she was trying her absolute best, raising her hands to channel magic. This time she vowed to stop him. Suddenly, Starfger gathered glowing energy in her hands, launching a rapid volley of magical bullets straight at their target. The attack dealt serious damage, amplified by the roasted chicken. Luju watched the massive explosion erupt. The girl gasped at the brilliant display. It was the magnificent, blinding light of a powerful artifact completely detonating. Roland realized that roast chicken was a major problem. He could not waste time. He needed to grab the Stone of Wisdom immediately. Meanwhile, Luju crept closer. From behind, activating her hidden strike skill, Roland spun around just in time. He blocked the assassin's strike, but the critical crystal slipped out, hitting the ground. Hagen realized the stone must have dropped from the priest's pocket during the clash. Luju scooped up the glowing crystal and tossed it directly to her commander. Roland lunged to intercept, but Hagen yelled that he had it covered. He reached out. Suddenly, on a nearby television, a woman begged them to stop. She begged them not to fight over her. Xia turned around, telling the girls that he had fixed the television and was heading off to take a quick nap. Xia never imagined that mastering engineering and production skills would let him repair home appliances. This was going to save so much money. Survival in this strange world required careful planning and absolute self-reliance. The observing demons quietly thought their master was putting way too much effort. into blending with human society. Back in battle, Hajin almost caught the crystal. But he was cut off. Roland shoved the squad leader out of the way and snatched the stone himself. Hajin stared in absolute disbelief. How could the priest move that fast? Luju pointed out they never stopped attacking. Honestly, how did he even manage to escape their combined attack? Suddenly, they noticed the figure they had targeted was now just a doll. Roland laughed, calling it a simple street trick. He had used a con artist skill to swap places with the dummy, leaving Hajin absolutely furious. Roland planted a brutal kick directly into his face, leaving the girls completely outraged. Roland declared that it was finally time to put an end to this ridiculous farce. Lightning flashed from the crystal in the priest's hand to the seal above, while Lu Ju tried to block the overwhelming magical attack using her roasted chickens. But Roland unleashed the power of an S-rank item directly against them. Even the legendary chicken from the Demon King couldn't hold up. Obara warned that if humans kept this weapon, the Demon King himself would be in serious trouble. Roland scoffed, saying he always suspected they were secretly chummy with the enemy. The priest then asked if the player leader felt no shame serving a monster. Hajin was completely taken aback. Did this priest really think he had any moral ground? Roland calmly added that no matter how low humanity fell under their reign, they would always find a way to stand right back up on their feet. His belief in human victory was absolutely absolute, but Hajin remained highly skeptical. The squad leader nervously wondered if the priest was going to execute them. But Roland had no reason to do that, even with players fallen this low. There were lines he simply refused to cross. Once he delivered the stone, the players would finally see just how incredibly short-sighted they had been. Suddenly, the entire squad's health bar was fully restored, leaving them speechless. Roland picked up the legendary Stone of Wisdom and walked away, leaving Hajin sighing. He muttered that the mission was an absolute failure now that the enemy had it. Obara was trembling, asking the commander how they would survive the Demon King's anger. Lu Ju quietly debated whether to put down her comrades before ending herself. It seemed like a mercy compared to facing their boss. Lu Ju decided they should retreat and report everything. An archer agreed, noting that the stone's sheer power was just too ridiculous. Even their best summons stood no chance, but if they explained things honestly, their master might actually show a little mercy and understand their plight. Back at the castle, Xia looked down at the table in utter confusion. He wondered if this strange mess was really the elf the squad brought him. Hajin sheepishly shook his head and pulled out a small plastic bag. He explained that about 30% of the elf was packed inside. The most critical magical part was missing, but maybe they could still fix it. The squad leader watched Xia closely, dreading the Demon King's sudden fury. Meanwhile, in the beautiful Sky City, guards warmly welcomed Roland back from his quest. The priest smiled, reassuring them that everything had gone incredibly well. Humanity finally had real hope now. His NPC assistant was absolutely thrilled. She mentioned that Lord Julia had been waiting a long time. He needed to report the successful arrival to her immediately. Julia Dix, the 7th member of the 12 High Council seats, was delighted to see the priest return safely. She quickly asked him what this new hope actually meant for them. The priest opened his hand to proudly reveal his glowing ultimate prize. A glowing red crystal pulled straight from the elf's body. This was the legendary Elven Stone of Wisdom. Meanwhile, Xia smiled. He hadn't seen a real elf yet, but he was pleased with their gift. Seeing his master's warm expression, Hajin let out a silent sigh of relief. Master Xia wasn't angry with them at all. He admitted that he had mastered the right skills and could probably do it. Zioya decided to resurrect the dead elf. Hajin panicked. He realized the real reason behind Master Xia's good mood. Xia noted that the chest area had suffered the most damage, so they should rebuild it first. It should be Easy, Heijin recalled Roland saying that elves store their power inside their chests and bellas. That explosion meant she chose death over getting captured by enemies, unleashing all her raw power. It also meant that under normal circumstances, instant death was guaranteed. Her energy and soul had returned to the world's main energy flow after that blast, like a single drop of water lost in the endless ocean, completely impossible to retrieve. Heijin pointed out this was likely impossible, making Zioya sigh with deep regret. But Shea calmly said he would just replace her damaged rib cage with a model he made a few days ago, noting that the skin tone matched up almost perfectly. Shea pulled out the blank part, ready to begin. He might not know how to fight, but repairing figures was his absolute specialty. Shea felt he just needed to trust his raw intuition. Now that he had unlocked his inner power, every movement felt effortless, turning the complex into something simple. Our hero focused all his inner strength, fully amplifying his energy as he cried out that it was time to finish. Shea could hardly believe the insane result himself. Meanwhile, Heijin noticed massive energy gathering inside the shattered elf's body. Suddenly, the girl gasped for air and opened her eyes. She looked up in absolute shock. Why was the Demon King standing right before her? She clutched her chest in absolute terror. Why had her F-cup shrunk into a tiny cup? She fell back asleep. This time, she flat out refused to wake up or be saved. Heijin stood frozen in disbelief. Because the elf had actually been resurrected. What insane power was this? The Demon King had completely rewritten the laws of nature. He was truly omnipotent. Shea had no idea the doll they brought would look so incredibly lifelike, happily adding that he really liked her. Heijin was stunned. Did the Demon King just call her a doll? Heijin couldn't believe his ears. The legendary princess whom humans and demons had coveted for 1,000 years was just a toy to him. Anlu realized that this was Master Shea's secret weakness. Everything made sense now. Anlu silently realized that the noble elven princess was now just a plaything in his hands, destined to be his private doll. The master might seem cold on the outside, but his heart is clearly burning with hidden passion. Anlu immediately decided to find a way to become a real woman just to win Master Shea's favor. Meanwhile, Heijin mentioned another prize, revealing a glowing blue orb inside his open palm. Shea accepted the gift. Suddenly, a demonic voice from the blue orb told him to feel unending hatred. Shea calmly suggested they could modify the orb and hang it on the front door as an alarm. Shea added that if the players did not want these items, he would happily keep them. He added that unfortunately, he had nothing of value to offer in return. The elven princess bitterly realized these humans had traded her off to bargain with the Demon King. Wondering what could possibly be more valuable than her, Shea then asked if they had run out of roast chicken. Janine confirmed they had, adding that it was absolutely delicious anyway. The Demon King was glad they enjoyed it, and mentioned that he had some top-tier salt-baked chicken ready to give them right now. Hearing this, the elven princess was completely outraged. Had they actually traded her, an honorable princess, for some simple poultry? Yet the girl could not resist because the aroma was just too good. Still, she knew the taste of food was the least of her worries. She was now a captive of the Demon King. What could she do? Meanwhile, Shea escorted the guild players to the exit, promising he would gladly welcome them back next time. Lu asked the commander what to do. Howen realized the girls had quietly agreed to rejoin their squad. The sharp archer noticed that their small squad was split into two groups. They were tasked with guarding the rear from any sudden, surprise attacks. Obara revealed she spent their hard-earned reward money on a lovely cemetery plot. This way, even if the Demon King executed them, they would rest. Howen gently reminded her that the Demon King was not even angry. She claimed she understood completely and prepared to run off right away. But Lu quickly stopped her, advising her to keep some open graves In that cemetery, those vacant slots could easily come in handy, the group leader thought. The entire situation was unbelievable. The sacred elven heirloom they struggled so hard to retrieve was just a doll. Talk about a complete waste of effort. The Demon King was so thrilled that he gave them 10 salt-baked chickens. Howen remarked that the incredible potential of these ancient relics was always mind-blowing. The leader agreed, saying it felt absolutely amazing to fight on the right side of history. Back at headquarters, Priest Roland informed the High Council that he got the sacred elven stone of wisdom. However, his hands were completely empty. The baffled council members stared at nothing, wondering if Master Roland had actually made a foolish mistake. How could the greatest hope of humanity fail? Suddenly, one of them claimed he understood the secret. This was clearly a magical test that only highly intelligent people could perceive. Another member quickly claimed he saw it too, praising its power. Roland was utterly baffled by this sudden disappearance. Just a second ago, the physical crystal was resting in his palm, and now it had dissolved into thin air. A skeptical member grumbled that this was definitely no test of wisdom. He demanded to know why Roland kept them completely in the dark. Then Julia Dix stepped in, ordering everyone to stop bickering. The elven princess was somehow resurrected, and the legendary stone of wisdom belonged to her. Its sudden return to her side made no sense. Roland was stunned. Could she really have returned to life? Julia Dix kept watching the Demon King closely, admitting that their foe was a master actor. Roland protested, claiming he saw the princess literally blow up with his own eyes, meaning any healing spell would have been totally useless. Julia Dix agreed with his assessment, but pointed out there were only two possibilities here. A member immediately suggested Roland had been tricked. He admitted he couldn't argue with that, standing right before the entire council. Julia Dix declared that Roland had betrayed them, leaving the princess believing that those people had completely abandoned her, leaving her with a strong sense of resentment. Shia then told the princess they were finally all by themselves. She silently realized this guy already knew she had actually awakened. What would he do to her now? The elven princess silently wondered. If she tried to fight the Demon King now, would she even stand a chance of winning? Shia placed his hand on the princess's head and told her not to be afraid, since they were the only two here, urging her to open her eyes and realize that no one would harm her, blushing deeply upon hearing his kind and gentle words, wondering why the Demon King's presence felt so warm. Suddenly her passive skill, Eye of True Vision, was activated. At that very moment she shrank. She was still trembling with pure fear. Shia was deeply surprised by her sudden shrinking. Elsewhere, Roland was shocked and furious, unable to believe they could accuse him of this. Julia Dix quickly started playing the recording, which clearly showed Roland's actions. Everyone in the room, including the priest, stared intently at the screen. As the non-player character assistant protested that this was absolutely impossible, since Roland was the hope of humanity, but she was suddenly attacked and sent flying backward. Roland stared. He watched the shocking footage in pure disbelief. The deactivated assistant lay silently on the ground before finally sitting up. Julia Dix was now aiming a powerful pistol directly at Roland. Everyone present watched in utter surprise, wondering what on earth was happening. The weapon was an S-rank artifact from God, known as Demon Slayer No. 3, which was capable of borrowing the divine power of its creator, God Moxie. No one could resist its energy. Roland was completely cornered as the assistant confirmed that everything said was the absolute truth. Julia Dix smiled, calling this much better. Roland was furious as a council member protested that this was highly inappropriate. Still, Julia Dix continued to hold him at gunpoint. Honestly, she's willing to do whatever it takes. Since things had spiraled completely out of control, extreme measures were absolutely necessary. Traitor or not, they would inspect his underlying code. Meanwhile, Shia headed for the exit. Bao spoke up, looking at his master, who calmly replied that he was leaving to evaluate this strange doll. In his hands was the elven princess. The Shia noticed he couldn't make her look like an adult and began to worry. She might break. He decided to visit the store to ask about it, telling the cat to be a good boy and watch the house, warning him about any sneaky mice. Shia went outside, looking up at the sky. He silently wondered why. The clouds were so dark. Was it going to rain? He opened his umbrella, declaring that in that case, the rain wouldn't be a problem at all. Back inside, Julia Dix kept her gun ready, asking if anyone else wanted to oppose her. She pointed the weapon directly at Archbishop Pui, reminding him that as an archbishop, he was supposed to support their primary struggle. The archbishop quietly thought that if they won, he would indeed become the main leader. They lacked a real army. The demon slayer's holy blade was their only hope. Powered by God, it was a massive trump card, but victory was impossible. A clash with the demon king would end in absolute ruin. Pui watched closely. He looked at Roland. Perhaps winning this battle could change their dark fate. But Roland remained skeptical. The grand plan would never succeed. Pui raised his fist. He agreed to the war, but raised a warning. He had witnessed the Demon King's terrifying might. Only one person could stand. Ulick Dix held the legendary weapon, the only tool capable of slaying him. He had the raw strength. Let him fight to expose everyone's foolishness. This would show them the truth. Ulick Dix pondered the bold suggestion. The idea made perfect sense. The archbishop urged him to take the lead. Ulick Dix agreed. He tucked away his pistol, ready for the confrontation. He would face the dark ruler himself, showcasing true hope to everyone. Roland pleaded for caution. Creating more issues now was a terrible idea. The Demon King was far more dangerous than they could ever imagine. Ulick Dix laughed it off. He would verify the danger with his own eyes. Roland just had to wait in confinement for the glorious victory report. Overjoyed with anticipation, Ulick Dix ordered full preparations for immediate battle. Every shop and trading post in the safe zone had to close. Evacuating all system residents was critical. No bystanders could remain behind. They even shut down the protective barrier. It barely mattered anymore anyway. High-tier demon fighters prepared for combat. The archbishop watched in concern. He questioned disabling the safe zone. Ulick Dix was completely resolute. The commercial district was already the Demon King's personal backyard. There was simply no other choice left. Pui watched, finding the situation serious. If Ulick Dix won, everything would play directly into his hands. Talk about a massive gamble. Ulick Dix organized the army. They would march out together as one. Slaying the king was secondary. Their main goal was rescuing the elven princess. He ordered a worldwide broadcast. Let the media record their grand victory. The world must witness real hope. Meanwhile, Shea wandered down the street, completely clueless. He stood frozen. The shops were locked. Perhaps it was some holiday. Citizens packed their belongings in a panic, desperately rushing toward the exit. Fearing it would be too late, residents fled. Shea guessed it was indeed a massive holiday and everyone wanted a trip. Then, a frantic passerby stopped him. The man asked why the protagonist was lingering. The safe zone was offline. Everyone had to escape this place immediately. Shea was completely caught off guard. He wondered if even divine system artifacts took regular scheduled breaks. This fantasy world had some amazing perks. Then he spotted a flyer. It announced that real estate prices in the area had plummeted. Shocked, Shea finally began to understand the true gravity of this. Suddenly, Ulick Dix appeared right behind him, flanked by his forces. Ulick Dix smirked, saying they finally crossed paths. Shea stood frozen in shock. Why bring a whole military unit? The tiny elven princess peeked out. From his pocket, rubbing her eyes, had she fallen asleep once more. She gasped at the sight of the heavily armed, hostile soldiers. The princess wondered if humans and demons were about to fight over her. again fearing that a tragedy from 1,000 years ago would repeat itself. This realization deeply saddened her, as she believed the Demon King was ready to strike, meaning the humans had to run since they stood no chance against him. She felt like her mere existence brought nothing but harm to her kingdom and people. Wondering if she even deserved a quiet, happy life, Shia suddenly turned and bolted. Seeing this, the commander asked Julia Dix if they should give chase to the Demon King, but Julia Dix ordered his men to hold their positions. He suspected a trap, and right as our hero tried to run away, he tripped and faceplanted. Talk about an embarrassing moment, the commander asked for their next move, but Julia Dix found this display highly suspicious. Tied up and completely helpless, Shea was trembling because he didn't comprehend why they had captured him. Under this heavy guard of heavily armed soldiers, the commander admitted he never expected this to be so easy, while Julia Dix admitted he was just as shocked by it. He then asked if they found the elf or the legendary Stone of Wisdom. A soldier admitted they were too terrified to even search the bound Demon King. Meanwhile, hiding nearby, the elven princess watched everything unfold, utterly baffled as to why the Demon King refused to fight back despite his invincible might. Desperate for answers, she activated her passive skill, the Eye of True Vision, trying to read his mind. Meanwhile, Julia Dix gathered his courage and confronted the Demon King, demanding he hand over the elf princess. Hearing this, Shea was stunned, realizing they were actually after the elf princess. So our hero boldly asked how much they were willing to pay for her. Everyone froze in shock. Honestly, who even tries to auction off an elf to sell her off, while the princess herself was deeply hurt and offended? Julia Dix could not believe his ears. Was the Demon King really offering to sell the elf directly to him? What was this guy actually plotting now? Shea quickly realized that this greedy leader with the army just wanted a puppet. If he had known this sooner, he would not have been so terrified. But Julia Dix thought this was far too easy, suspecting some kind of catch. An elven princess is a priceless treasure, a mighty force capable of upsetting the balance. How could she be sold so cheaply? Whether it was a clever act or a fake deal, he knew a lie would always be a lie. Julia Dix knew this Demon King would try to manipulate them, so he refused to pay a single coin. Shea was shocked. Was this greedy noble trying to get a free handout? Shea asked if they just wanted the elf doll, making the military commander seriously ponder this, while Shea loudly asked if they would pay for her. Everyone heard the question, even those watching the broadcast through the installed surveillance cameras. The capture was being streamed to various locations throughout the city, so everyone heard his shocking question. The commander quickly calculated his budget, realizing he could offer around 1,200 gold coins, but Shea yelled out, asking for higher bid. This unexpected turn of events left Julia Dix completely speechless. Fury fills the room. Did this guy actually think he could just start an auction? Several military officers began throwing out higher bids, quickly driving up the price. Dix is furious. What are they doing? The princess watches in horror. Strangely enough, the Demon King somehow diffuses the hostile tension in the room in seconds. The princess starts wondering if this was his grand plan all along. Meanwhile, the bidding war intensifies as prices climb higher and higher by the second. The numbers hit 3,000. To Shia, this rising price is pure music. He grins and shamelessly shouts for even higher offers from the eager crowd. Suddenly, a commander reports to Dix that online viewers are joining the bidding too. He explains that a massive live stream is broadcasting this event across the world. Countless viewers from every corner of the globe are tuned in, watching the action. Julia calls it absurd. How could novice players even know her true value? How could a bunch of novice players possibly know her actual price? The commander shrugs. They just think she looks pretty. Dix is left speechless. Where on earth are these newbies getting that cash? Apparently, all these new players are teaming up and using crowdfunding. Having slept for 1,000 years, the ancient princess has absolutely no idea what that means. For someone from her era, the concept of group funding is completely foreign. It is a system where thousands of normal people pool their money together. Suddenly, wealth from all across the globe is flowing right into this one spot. Dix panics. He screams to shut down the broadcast immediately. Watching this unfold, the princess realizes the sheer genius of the Demon King. He did not just break his enemies, he somehow united the entire world. Talk about an absolute legend, he is on another level. Reselling rare items from souvenir shops is proving to be a massively profitable business. It is a total goldmine. Xia never imagined such an easy way to make cash existed. He quickly decides to ask Qin Hajin to bring more items to sell.